AJC, yes, they did. They came alive. They came alive.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floormeister Studios. Floormeisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you on this Thursday, past the halfway point of a tremendous sports month. Hope your week has gone well. Let's finish it strong, shall we? How the heck are you, Miller and Moulton? MillerandMoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Top of the morning to you, Mark. How are you?
Good morning, David. I am doing great. Good day yesterday. Watched a little hockey, watched a little baseball. Ready for the weekend. Football starts tonight. Here we go.
Football started last week, baby. 49 straight days of football. You mean to tell me Delaware, Jacksonville State, UTEP, Sam Houston slipped through the cracks last night?
No, it didn't slip through the cracks. I will never put that crap on. It's crap, I tell you. Crap.
Gotcha.
You call it whatever you want. It's crap. Not wasting my time. Playoff baseball or crap football? Let's watch playoff baseball.
Well,
I mean, I'm telling you what, the Steelers and Bengals have to perform tonight to get volume. And I'll lose because of the wife. But if it were my choice, baseball playoffs would get the volume in my house.
Oh, so your wife, who had been a little frustrated with the Steelers in recent years, is she on board this year? Okay with Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, I mean, she tries. It's not that she's been frustrated. I have to be brutally honest. And she says she's been too busy to be a sports fan between working her tail off and helping me. We raise a child together. She's busy. She's tired. When she has time off, it's not the first thing she wants to do anymore.
Oh,
and she's even said, I'm not a good fan anymore.
Huh.
And so she's trying to be a better fan. But the fact that it's Thursday night, not Sunday at 1, I don't anticipate her watching the whole game. And by the time she goes to bed, maybe late first half, halftime at the latest, I'll be listening to the baseball with football on the other television.
And the baseball games might overlap a little bit, probably will. Boy, so much for home sweet home in this LCS. What are road teams, 5-0 so far? Man, oh man, do we have to bet the Brewers tonight hard, even though they don't even know who their starting pitcher is going to be? At least they haven't announced it to us. I say we put a few shekels on the Brew Crew tonight. Why not?
Hey, it's your money. Let's do it.
Oh, it's my money?
Yeah.
You're not betting.
Well, you've been telling me to bet. I've had to replenish that account that we've lost a ton of money in many a time. The Hard Rock account has gone to zero at least 2 or 3 times.
Well, then let me know. Okay. I mean, we've got an account that has both our names on it. Feel free to keep dipping in if you need to. Just to play along at home, if nothing else.
Right.
But
man,
oh man,
a little money, and they're making Trent bets now.
Well, let's not. We shouldn't do that.
Let's put $2 on this game.
Well, I think if road teams are 5-0, all right, I'd say we put a few shekels on the Brewers tonight. What the heck? Let's just see how far this trend will go. But last night, it's momentum, Mark. Miller and Moulton, big fans of momentum. We may have been 20 years ago, and then Gary Danielson sat us down and said, listen, if I'm going to be part of this show on a regular basis, there's one thing that you guys need to learn. There is no such thing as momentum. And we looked at him like, this is the craziest thing anyone's ever said on this show. All right. And since then, there have only been 7,000 instances in which he's been right. Because, Mark, Seattle goes to Toronto and whoops up twice, and then their best player, and yes, I insist Julio Rodriguez is their best player. Cal Raleigh had their best year, but Julio Rodriguez is their best player. Hits a 2-run homer in the first. I mean, put a fork in Toronto, baby. This series is over. Are you kidding me? Yeah, Toronto scored the next 12 runs. Hit 5 homers.
Right.
Yeah. Vladdy Jr. said, we ain't done yet. I'm going to reach base every single time I come to the plate. 4 hits and a walk. I'll hit a homer. Yeah, 13-4. It's nice when you get you don't often get someone to win the 13-run pool in the postseason.
No,
all right.
No, and the Toronto Bats woke up last night, and you're right. After the first inning, I mean, because, the old phrase in baseball is momentum's the next day's starting pitcher. Well, I mean, not anymore. Maybe it's next day's starting opener in the case of the Brewers tonight.
Right.
But we've all heard that, but here we go again. Right away, who gets the lead? Seattle. So all the momentum in the world, right? Not so fast.
Not so much. 13-4 Toronto. We've got a series in the Pacific Northwest after all, and now I guess Milwaukee will let us know early this evening because it's a 6 o'clock Eastern start, 5 o'clock in Milwaukee, 3 o'clock in LA. Brewers and Dodgers. Can Milwaukee get back in this series? The Dodgers starting pitching has been dominant, and that's a good thing because their bullpen is not. Very shaky. Might be the worst bullpen if they can win 6 more games and win the World Series. Don't know if there will have been a team to win the World Series with a worse bullpen. And boy, will that just throw the sport on its ear, because I thought that's all this sport was anymore.
Well, obviously, you can't expect 8+ innings from a Dodger starter tonight. You can't.
No. Tyler Glasnow on the hill, but I think they're thinking they can get 6. I mean, Milwaukee's not getting a lot of hits. I mean, do they even have 10 hits yet in this series? I don't think they do.
No way close.
So, Brewers and Dodgers at 6. Game 4, Toronto and Seattle at 8:30. Just before then, in Cincinnati, it's their season, right? It's probably the head coaching tenure of Zach Taylor on the line tonight, don't you think?
I do. I mean, there's a lot of that this week. We've already said loser leave town match between the Browns and the Dolphins for the head coach, more than likely. You've got to think the same things in Cincinnati. Obviously, they already fired the guy in Tennessee. There's a few more coaches that could bite the dust. We could have a lot of them by the end of this year.
Yeah, I don't think they'll get rid of Zach during the season. That would surprise me. But I think if the Bengals were to lose tonight, that would be 5 straight losses. They would be what? 4 games behind the Steelers with Joe Burrow nowhere in sight?
Right. You like to put the X next to teams when they clinch the division way earlier than they actually clinch the division. The Steelers win tonight. Explain to me how they don't win the division.
Steelers win tonight. They're 5-1. The Bengals will fall to 2-5. Cleveland's already 1-5. The Ravens are already 1-5. The Ravens will be 4 games behind the Steelers. Now, they still will play Pittsburgh 2 more times. But, man, if you're the Ravens, you are huge Bengals fans tonight. You're like, come on, hopefully we're going to get it together soon. And, can you just help keep them within, I don't know, the same distance that Tampa Bay was behind Atlanta in November last year when they were able to then finish strong and chase down the Falcons. But 8:15 tonight on Amazon Prime, another division game. Amazon's getting a lot of division games on Thursday nights. Not all of them pan out. We'll see if this one does. Steelers a 4.5-point favorite. Oh, by the way, on the road tonight.
Mike Tomlin, 0-6 on the road in Thursday night division games. The Steelers, 0-8 all time on the road in divisional games on Thursday night football. Tomlin, 1-7 all time on Thursday night road games.
So you're saying take the Bengals in the 4.5?
I'm just giving you history. That has nothing to do with tonight's game. You love trends. That's a pretty good trend.
That's a great trend. And it's so much so, might have to play the Bengals on the money line tonight as well.
That's really your play if you're going to do it, because I think you'd probably get pretty good odds.
So there you go. Nicknamed the Icy Hot Bowl because the one quarterback is 41 and the other is 40. The Icy Hot Bowl, just the second time that the quarterbacks facing one another are 40 years of age or older. The other was 5 years ago, a couple of guys named Brady and Breeze. They met 3 times that season, including the playoffs, the Bucs and the Saints. Brady getting the last laugh. And I believe the final game of Drew Brees' career.
So plus 210 money line on the Bengals if you are so inclined.
There you go. There you go. So if I can't convince you to put a few shekels on the Brewers, can I convince you to put a few shekels on the Bengals?
David, just line up your bets. As long as they're not on Friday on the record, you do well.
Well, at least I've found the right number of bets to make per week.
Right. It's 8.
8.
It is 8 for you. You have one winning week, one 500 week. Keep it up.
So I have to keep going with the Elite 8. Okay, while Mark continues to be disciplined and stay with the Fantastic 5 or whatever it would be. So
great show lined up for you today. Roy Cummings will talk the Bucs. Graham Hall to talk about what's going on in Gainesville. Oh, boy, are the rumors of flying, David. Don't know about you, but my phone was blowing up yesterday, including a listener email of who he wants to be the coach. And we'll talk to Graham Hall about what's going on in Gainesville. And live from London, JP Shadrick to preview the Jags game against the Rams this weekend. The starting 5, 25 minutes away. Thanks so much for joining us here on Miller and Moulton. Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at PelicanRoofingCompany.com. CCC 1332512. For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to NolanAgency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or NolanAgency.com.
Let's talk the big differences between Floor Meisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floor Meisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floor Meisters backs their installer. So if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floormeister's prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floormeisters in Naples. Floormeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
American Paint Supplies is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs and has been for 30 years. American Paint Supplies is also your #1 Festool dealer in Southwest Florida. If you are a builder, cabinet maker, painter, or power tool enthusiast, Festool craftsmanship can be found at American Paint Supplies. Celebrating 30 years of service, and Festool is celebrating 100 years of excellence. Come to American Paint Supply for a perfect pairing of service and expertise on 6100 Shirley Street, Naples, off of Pine Ridge, or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Morning, Michael. Yeah, but Puck, at some point, we'll find out a pitcher, even if it's just 3 hours before the game, and then it'll be set. I think you know what I was getting at. They're going to be an underdog tonight. That's good to know. Might as well get the kids excited midway through the week.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Roy Cummings, Graham Hall, JP Shadrick, all to come. So yesterday, I was the one that started it, but I don't think you disagreed, in which I just said, listen, I don't have any, not going to stake my life savings on it, but there's some noise in the system in Gainesville. Something's going on, and I really think they're moving to push Billy out after homecoming on Saturday. I think they're going to get rid of him Sunday, heading into a bye week, and then basically they're going to move on. And, yeah, they'll play the cocktail party and whoever the interim coach will be and however this year plays out. But they've given Billy 3.5 years, and they're ready to move on. And I think the Penn State move sent the big Gator money people over the edge. They were disgusted Saturday night watching the product, realizing they're not in the top teams of the SEC's class, except for the rare home game. And then when Penn State forked over nearly $50 million, by the way, apparently it's not Adidas, it was the Pagula family. The folks who put $100 million down for the hockey arena and the program and get it started and all that. They're big Penn State people. Apparently they're paying the buyout. So not Adidas, but the Pagulas. But back to Napier and the Gators, Mark. A lot of noise in the system. Few people even reporting that Saturday will be it for Sunbelt Billy.
Yeah, win or lose. He gets to coach at homecoming, and that's it. And David laid it out perfectly, and I don't know, around 12:30, things started hitting X and different social media sites, and my phone started blowing up.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to answer, and I'm on the back nine trying to play some golf going, guys, come on here.
Come on, I got 6 feet for par and a skin. Could you leave me alone? But
yeah, so the rumors are out there. There are, it's funny, and we can spend as much or as little time as you want, David, on it. But, several people reached out to me yesterday saying Florida wants Freeman from Notre Dame. And to me, I'm like, that's great. You're not getting him.
No, you're not.
You may want him. That may be the name that you're trying to build up. But I will be shocked, and I mean shocked. On a scale of 1 to 10, that'll be a 74 if he leaves Notre Dame for Florida. If you get Lane, okay, I don't think you're going to. But if you get Lane, okay, my shocked meter would be 8.5, 9. But Freeman from Notre Dame, are you kidding me? I like that that's where you're thinking. He's done a terrific job with Notre Dame. Terrific. And he ain't leaving.
No reason to.
Explain to me how your situation's better than his and how it ever could be. Like how it ever could be. Even if you become Florida again. So lots of names being bantered about. Put it this way. You get Freeman, I would change my answer of yesterday's poll question, and I would say I believe in ghosts. To which 49% of you do, by the way. I'm almost as stunned by that answer, like the total of that vote, as I am by the fact that Florida thinks they can get Freeman.
Well, I said it yesterday. I actually think, from a coaching standpoint, it would be the number one place I'd want to be. All right. Ohio State's the best program day in, day out right now in the sport. But I think the current setup of college sports fits Notre Dame football better than anyone. I mean, they literally are holding a spot in the playoff for Notre Dame every year. They just have to meet certain criteria, and they're in. No other school gets that. So money's not an issue. Brian Kelly put a top 10 product out there. Marcus Freeman may very well be taking it even to a higher level. Brian Kelly didn't think he could be top 5 at Notre Dame with the way the system was. Well, now the system has changed.
But Florida looking to make a move, and as David said yesterday, he and we believe what Penn State did began to get the ball rolling in Gainesville. Nothing like a freak out to get the money people to say we need our coach before they get their coach.
Well, as we pointed out on Monday, Penn State got rid of a coach who was 34-8 the last 3 years, who was in the national semifinals last year, who was in the Big Ten championship game last year. 34-8 before the season, 37-8 until 15 days before his firing. Meanwhile, Billy Napier's below 500 for 3.5 years. I do wonder, Mark, would it be different if the Gators were 3-3? I wonder if truly Billy Napier will walk the plank Sunday as opposed to maybe a Sunday after Thanksgiving, but will he be walking the plank in mid-October all because of the South Florida game? Because if they win that, they're 3-3 right now. And in theory, they will then win the homecoming game and be 4-3 heading into the cocktail party. And will people be firing him before the cocktail party? Or would he be week to week?
David, I think it's a fair question. And I'm going to answer your question with another question. If Penn State would have beaten UCLA and or Northwestern, would Florida be firing their coach right now? I think it's all Penn State. I think he would have been done at the end of the year based on what's going on with South Florida. I do. That loss may have ended it for Billy Napier, but I don't know if they would have done it mid-season, and they still haven't, obviously. But, boy, the rumors are hot that it's happening this weekend.
And it should, by the way. Florida gave him everything he asked for. They got their house in order financially. It may not be the richest house in the neighborhood, but it's a really nice house. Don't kid yourself. And they gave him 3.5 years. And the same problems remain. They're inconsistent. He's not a good offensive coordinator at this level. He refused to give up play calling. He went down with the ship. And they're going to take him down.
And not only is he not a good offensive coordinator, he's not a good game manager.
At all.
He routinely makes mistakes on game day. And that's the part that I think has the fan base infuriated. The combination of those two. He's supposed to be this great offensive mind. Where's the great offense? And he screws things up on game day. Seemingly every week.
They will have given him 3.5 years. He will, if he wins Saturday, does that make him officially 500? Will he leave as a 500 coach or a game below? But, I mean, come on. They gave him enough time. They gave him the resources. He didn't get it done. Time to move on. The starting five is next. Miller and Moulton. The Cape Coral Police Department is growing, and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000, depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com. Capecops.com. Be brave, be best. Be Cape.
Football season is back, and celebrate your game day with Jimmy the Beef Guy. We're talking tender, juicy Chicago beef sandwiches. Whether your party's for 10, 100, or 200, bring game day to your house with Jimmy the Beef Guy. The catering packages come with the beef, the gravy, the peppers, the bread, everything you need. 2 convenient locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. Skip the ordinary and bring the beef. Jimmy the Beef Guy, Chicago flavor, Southwest Florida style. Call today or visit jimmythebeefguy.com. Tell him Miller and Moulton sent
Let's talk the big differences between Floor Meisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floor Meisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floor Meisters backs their installer. So if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floor Meisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floor Meisters in Naples. Floormeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floor Meisters, just keeping it real.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and
This
sound.
is Miller and Moulton.
Where are you at tomorrow? I haven't even looked at the schedule. Or Saturday.
Oh, I'm in Madison for Ohio State's humiliation of the Badgers.
Fun.
Apparently, the Detroit Marathon is Sunday. I didn't realize Detroit had a marathon.
That would make 2 of us, David.
And
Paula, are you running?
but apparently, it's going to be a mess getting from the airport to downtown.
Where do you stay at? I don't know.
I'm staying at the Westin.
Okay.
Which is like 0.6 of a mile from Ford Field, but it's like 1.25 miles from Little Caesars. I think I'm just going to park the car. Although I think Sunday night, I'm going to get together with our friend who lost his wife recently.
Is he up there?
He is for this weekend because we were supposed to meet up, the 3 of us. We had made plans a couple months ago. By the way, the celebration of life in Fort Myers. Did you get it?
I got it.
And I can't make it, which I'm kind of bummed about. Paula, I'm not meaning this to be a jerk. I didn't realize Detroit had a Riverwalk. Now, I have to admit, I've only walked downtown about a half a dozen times in my life, but
Well,
I've
it's
never.
not near. I mean, the river's separating Detroit from Canada. It's not really downtown.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
When the Joe used to be down there, you had the Renaissance Hotel, which is now GM headquarters, and
Right.
that area. And it may look beautiful. I just always thought you could get shot walking on it. Walk really fast.
Right. Like walking into the parking lot in the Sun Bowl the one year. Hey guys, duck down. There's been some bullets that have been ricocheting in from Juarez. I'm sorry, what?
I know they have, but I game days I feel very comfortable around the stadiums. I don't know if I'd be there. Just saying.
Apparently there will be a Trent Bally sighting Monday night. That he is definitely going. Well, sure, Chris.
It wasn't their doing.
I mean, that's the thing. I will say, and I like a lot about Clay Travis. He keeps saying that CBS made the decision to drop the SEC. No, the SEC, with 3.5 years remaining on the contract, at the first possible chance when exclusive negotiating period was over, they immediately signed with ABC. They made the decision to leave CBS. Now, if CBS had met their price tag during the exclusive negotiating period, they wouldn't have left. But I think CBS thought they had a lot more time. And no, it was not mutual.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
22 minutes till the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Roy Cummings to talk to Tampa Bay Bucs. Graham Hall in a couple hours. He writes for 24/7 Sports these days, has covered the Gators throughout his career. Lots of goings on in Gainesville, at least we think so. And JP Shadrick from across the pond. We'll ask him, how's the food? How's the weather? Are you catching up with anyone in your yearly visit? Sometimes twice a year visit. JP Shadrick, Talk Jags, and he'll be calling the game on Westwood One, oh, by the way, coming up in our bonus hour. Right now it's time for
The Starting Five. 5 big stories you need to know. Here is the Starting Five.
Man, it's all Seattle. Took the first 2 games in Toronto. Julio Rodriguez with a 2-run homer in the bottom of the first. The joint is jumping. The Jays are done. And then they score 5 in the third, 4 in the sixth. They hit 5 homers. They score 12 straight runs, and we've got ourselves a series. Toronto 13, Seattle 4. Seattle still leads 2-1. Game 4 tonight. Max Scherzer for the Jays. Remember him? Luis Castillo, who's had 1 start in these playoffs, 6 really good innings. I think 6 shutout innings for Castillo in his only playoff start. That's your game 4 pitching matchup tonight, 8:30 on FS1. We'll say the big bats for the Mariners, many of them delivered. Mentioned the 2-run homer by Rodriguez, Arozarena, and Cal Raleigh also homered. Seattle could use playoff Randy to show up. He's actually been slow, sluggish at the plate in these playoffs. Not Cal Raleigh. He's hitting almost 400. So, and I think it's his second dinger. Meanwhile, game 3 tonight in L.A. It'll be a 3 o'clock local start, 6 o'clock for those in the East, 5 for those in Central. Milwaukee and the Dodgers. L.A. took the first 2 in Milwaukee. Milwaukee has not announced who their starting pitcher will be. Not yet. They have to 3 hours before the game. Tyler Glasnow is getting the start for the Dodgers. Ohtani in game 4. And then it's Snell, Yamamoto, and Glasnow if the series goes the distance. So Brewers and Dodgers, 6 o'clock on TBS. Jays and Mariners, 8:30 on FS1. A couple of other baseball notes. You know, we heard the story that the Angels are interested in talking to both Albert Pujols and Torrey Hunter about their vacant managerial job. Apparently, the Orioles are also planning to interview Albert Pujols. Interesting. Red Sox third baseman Alex Bregman expected to opt out of his deal. He signed a 3-year, $120 million deal, 40 a year. He hit 273 last year, 18 homers, 62 RBIs. He did miss 2 months with an injury. You prorate that out, that's like 27 homers and 90 RBIs. Good defensive third baseman still. Was a veteran leader on that very young Red Sox team. He's thinking now he can get that 4 or 5 year big money contract when he couldn't get it last year. Be very curious. Alonso for the Mets, Bregman for the Red Sox. Both of them with a first digit that's a 3 now on the birth certificate. Will they get the 5-year big money deal that they're both looking for? We mentioned it earlier in the show. Thursday night football tonight, another division matchup, this in the AFC North. Steelers at Bengals. Feels like an absolute must for the Bengals. They've lost 4 in a row. They ditched their backup quarterback, Jake Browning. They bring in Joe Flacco, who was actually pretty good in Green Bay. The Packers are just a better team. Cincinnati at home at 2-4 with everything to play for. The Steelers at 4-1 could probably put a fork in the Bengals. 8:15 Amazon Prime, jokingly referred to by one of the Steelers as the Icy Hot Bowl, with Aaron Rodgers at 41 and Joe Flacco at 40. It's just the second time in NFL history that the 2 starting quarterbacks in the same game are 40 years or older. Brady and Breeze 5 years ago met 3 times as members of the Bucs and Saints. Brock Purdy still, quote, limited, unquote, in practice. Kyle Shanahan saying that Mac Jones is clearly healthier than Brock Purdy. Brock trying to get in some good practice time this week so that he can get his job back Sunday night when the Niners host the Falcons. Otherwise, it could be a 5th start in this young season for Mac Jones. George Kittle activated from the injured list to the point where he can now practice. His first day of practice in 21 days was yesterday. College football, we also brought it up a moment ago. Multiple reports indicating that the Gators are going to move on from Billy Napier, win or lose, Saturday against Mississippi State. It's homecoming. The Gators then have a bye before the cocktail party. Billy Napier, 21-23 as head coach of the Gators, 3.5 years in, and seemingly they're ready to move on. A couple of games last night. Jacksonville State, a home dog, whooped up on Delaware. They led it 35-6 before winning 38-25. And in a battle of two of the five worst teams in college football, we said take UTEP and lay the points because Sam Houston could very well be the worst team in FBS play. Massachusetts says hold my beer. It would be close. UTEP picked up their second win of the year at Sam Houston, 35-17. There is a Thursday night game tonight. Mark, is your son going?
Oh, yeah.
Tulsa and East Carolina.
Garrett, I mean, he'll be, trying to get out of work early so he can tailgate, David. That
7:30 Eastern on the four-letter network. The Pirates, 17.5-point favorites at home against 2-4 Tulsa.
they're not bad. I mean, they played Tulane tough right to the end last week.
Mm-hmm. No, they're a solid, 3-3 team. But in the American this year, I mean, they're like the seventh best team in that league. American is good this year. NHL, just 4 games yesterday. The Wings beat the Panthers 4-1. Patrick Kane ultimately with the game-winning goal, his second of the season. Brad Marchand scored for the Panthers, his third goal of the year. In other Panthers news, defenseman Dmitry Kulikov is out 5 months. Torn labrum in his shoulder. Picked it up second game of the year. 5 months. Yeah, that's mid-March. There ain't much of the regular season left. It's like 3-4 weeks left of the regular season. That's already the 4th major injury that the Panthers have suffered or Kachuk with the surgery that goes all the way back to the Four Nations of February of last year. Buffalo, first win of the year.
Hey, look at that. There you go, Buffalo.
3 players had a pair of goals in the Sabres' 8-4 win over Ottawa. The Blackhawks scored 5 unanswered to win their second in a row. They beat the Blues 8-3. And Calgary's off to the worst start in the NHL. They have the most losses. They're 1-4 are the Flames. The Mammoth with 3 unanswered to win at home 3-1. If you don't know, that's Utah. They were the Utah Hockey Club last year. Now they're the Utah Mammoth. The Lightning made a minor trade. You could argue their third string goalie, Phoenix Copley. All right. The LA Kings have an injury problem at net. Darcy Kemper's probably going to miss a couple weeks. So they needed somebody to back up their backup. And Copley was with the Kings for the last 3 years, so they acquired him back.
Doesn't make you think that the Kings have a lot in the pipeline if they're not calling someone up like that. That to me is really wondering what their farm system looks like for the 4 people in the United States that care. I know nobody listening does.
It's true, though. When you don't call the number 1 goalie from the A up to be the backup for 2 weeks, which is 5 games, maybe 6? Yeah. Devils goalie Jacob Markstrom, by the way, out 2 weeks with the famous lower body injury, which probably means he has a separated shoulder. NBA, Sacramento Kings making some news. Raise your hand if you know who Keegan Murray is. Not Keegan Bradley, Keegan Murray. He was a first-round pick of the Kings in 2022. He's a good young player. No, really, you got to trust me on that. He is. He's a good young player. Keegan Murray signed a 5-year, $140 million extension yesterday. He's under contract with the Kings through 2031. Keegan Murray.
Thank you. And I'm not being sarcastic. Keep it, because I when I saw that clip, I'm like, who? What?
And, they're basically saying he's our third best player going forward. And that gets you 28 a year in the NBA. Remember, The $7.6 billion, the $76 billion.
Was the
And-
son-in-law happy about the Keegan Murray signing? Because he is a Sacramento Kings fan, correct?
I did not. He is. I have not asked him. Okay.
He's our authority on this show
Yes.
of Sacramento Kings basketball.
But since
You got to have a go-to.
right. He's our R&D when it comes to the Sacramento Kings.
Right. My
But
son takes care of East Carolina football. Your son-in-law takes care of Sacramento Kings basketball.
Right. And my wife takes care of the kitchen. Hello. The Kings also signed Russell Westbrook yesterday. I actually thought he helped Denver off the bench last year. And the Kings had one of the 3 worst benches in the league last year. They were like 28th in one metric, 29th in another. And so the new coach in Sacramento, he's like, listen, we need help off the bench, and I want energy off the bench, and that's Russell Westbrook, who agreed to play his 18th season in the league, by the way, for $3.6 million. That's the veteran minimum for someone who has as much tenure as he has. Remember, the new NBA television contract with ESPN, NBC, and Amazon kicks in this season. So that league is flush with cash. Flush. And that's why they'll be adding 2 teams shortly. And everybody knows where those 2 teams will be, Seattle and Las Vegas, despite whatever nonsense Adam Silver is spewing. Just like the NHL will be adding 4 teams by the end of the decade, and 3 of the 4 locations are already known. They're Atlanta, they are Houston, and they are Phoenix. It's just a matter of where the 36th franchise will be.
Such a mistake.
Why?
Such a mistake.
Just because it's failed in Atlanta twice, although I talked to an Atlanta native extensively on Monday, and he said, hey, okay, we just didn't have owners who wanted to keep the teams. The teams drew people.
Okay. You say so.
That's what I said. It's exactly what I said. I went, in fact, I believe my quote was, really? So that got him.
I think Houston deserves the franchise. I do. But Atlanta and Phoenix, that makes no sense. None whatsoever.
And at 7 minutes before the hour mark, that was the starting 5. 5 big stories and Keegan Murray here on Miller and Moulton.
Keegan Murray, Sacramento Kings.
3rd best player, 28 a year.
That's $28 million, everyone.
Right.
For Keegan Murray.
Hello.
Miller and Moulton. We'll come up with a poll question and talk some football next. Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Let's talk the big differences between Floor Meisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floor Meisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floor Meisters backs their installer. So if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floor Meisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floor Meisters in Naples. Floormeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floor Meisters, just keeping it real.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
Got a cracked window or foggy glass? Don't wait for the next storm to make it worse. Your local Glass Doctor Home and Business is just down the road and ready to help. From leaky frames to shattered panes, we've got the tools and the know-how to get your home or business storm ready. With flexible scheduling and our done right promise, you'll be in good hands. So before or after the weather hits, call your neighbors at Glass Doctor.
Glass Doctor, Glass Doctor. Call the Glass Doctor, we fix your pains. Oh yeah.
American Paint Supplies is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs and has been for 30 years. American Paint Supplies is also your #1 Festool dealer in Southwest Florida. If you are a builder, cabinet maker, painter, or power tool enthusiast, Festool craftsmanship can be found at American Paint Supplies. Celebrating 30 years of service, and Festool is celebrating 100 years of excellence. Come to American Paint Supply for a perfect pairing of service and expertise on 6100 Shirley Street, Naples, off of Pine Ridge, or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
This year during Thanksgiving week, Fort Myers takes the national stage, hosting not one but 2 elite women's college basketball tournaments, the Fort Myers Tip-Off and Coconut Hoops, both featuring Power 4 teams and nationally ranked programs. Few places in the country can showcase this level of talent. We're proud that Fort Myers is one of them. Don't miss your chance. For tickets, go to visitfortmyers.com/basketball. Lee County, building a better community through business, sports, and tourism.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Clark, you just extended the coach 2 weeks ago. He's under contract for 3 more years. You want to fire him 5 games into the season? How about play better? See, I think we should put more pressure on the players. Firing the coach is easy.
Yes, it is, DC. Yes, it is. Unless, of course, you're Penn State. But in the pros, it's cheaper to fire the coach. We need a poll question.
Okay.
Should we put the leading candidates for the Gators? If the Gators had their choice, Signetti, Kiffin, Golish.
Yeah. I don't know who else you'd put. Who else would you put, realistically?
Brent Key.
Do people know who he is?
I got my, and he's a listener, and he's I didn't realize he's a Bull Gator, but he gave me a long list. He's like, coaches we can't afford, but I'd be okay with Lincoln Riley, Dan Lanning.
You'd be okay with them. Oh, that's good to know.
Coaches I'd be okay with, but we're unlikely to pry away. Brent Key, Jeff Brom, Clark Lee, Kurt Dillingham, Kurt Signetti, Bill O'Brien. I mean, come on.
Bill O'Brien's going to get fired in a month.
His list of the 4 guys he's got Lane, Kingsbury.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour 2 of Miller and Moulton on this Thursday. Playoff baseball tonight, Thursday night NFL, a college game of, well, modest interest. After all, it is Tulsa and East Carolina. But hey, it's helmet and shoulder pads. I mean, it beats talking with the family, right? And the Gators are getting a new football coach. That's what we're now led to believe. They'll be getting rid of this one in, let's see, about 72 hours. Maybe a couple more than that. They might not fire him at 7 a.m. Eastern on Sunday. They may wait till about 9 or 10. But who should the Gators, Mark, get?
Kurt Signetti. I can't say it any more clearly. That's the guy I'd go get. And I know he's 64, and you may only have him for 6-7 years. So what?
All right.
That's who I would get. That's who I think they can get, and that's who I would get.
Ooh, you think they can get him?
Yes, I do.
That's interesting. Okay.
I think it's a perfect fit. I really do. That brash style, if he wins there with that style, Gator fans would love him.
Yes. Yeah, he does remind me a lot of the HBC. I mean, he really does.
No apologies for the way he acts. This is who I am. Damn it. Let's go.
I don't think they can get him.
And you might be right, David. And I do think the one point you made earlier this week in talking about Signetti going anywhere is a relevant one. If Indiana happens to win a game in the playoff, first off, if they run the table, which right now looks like it could be done, they do play Penn State, but no Aller at Penn State. Indiana is highly likely to put a goose egg on the board. They put a goose egg on the board and lose to Ohio State as long as the game's within 2 scores. They're probably one of the 4 seeds getting a bye, aren't they?
I would think so.
I mean, the Buckeyes, Indiana, Miami, if they run the table, and maybe even Miami with 1 loss, maybe.
Had this conversation with someone yesterday. Let's just go with Ohio State, Indiana, get 2 of the top 4 seeds and buys. Miami, all right, whether it's 13-0, 12-1, whatever we think, they're ACC champs, and they get one of the top 4 seeds. Could it come down to an undefeated Texas Tech, if they're able to pull this off, versus the SEC champion? In which, Mark, right now, if you had to bet the number of losses that the SEC champion is going to have, 1, 2, or 3?
Well, it's 1 or 2.
Okay.
It's 1 or 2, because I don't think a 3-loss team will get to the SEC championship.
Fair enough.
So you know,
And
whether,
I know.
and I think it's some combination of Ole Miss, A&M, and Alabama.
And obviously, Ole Miss and A&M both still have goose eggs. So I know some of you are probably going, well, how come you didn't say 0? Well, because we don't
I
think
don't
that
think so.
Ole Miss and A&M are going to run the table. We don't. A&M's finally going to start playing some road games. Ole Miss is an 8.5-point dog at Georgia Saturday.
And if somehow it ends up being an undefeated A&M and Alabama in the SEC title, and Alabama has one loss at that point, then, and if Alabama were to win that game, then both of those teams are in the top 4. They are. Book it. One loss, put it this way, Ohio State beats Indiana, just for sake of argument, David, and that gives Indiana 12-1. Alabama beats A&M. You think Indiana's getting a bye before A&M? Because I don't.
I do. I think Indiana will have the best win. I don't think A&M's best win will be better than at Oregon.
Ooh, well,
Now,
remember that's going to be 10-2 Notre Dame that's in the playoff, and A&M will have gone to A&M and won that game, or gone to Notre Dame and won that game.
I know it's still not going to Oregon. It's not.
I know it's going to Notre Dame and winning. They played for the title last year. Oregon got knocked out. They got beat by the title team too, but they got knocked out in the first round. And the win against Penn State doesn't mean as much anymore. I'm sorry. It doesn't.
Yeah, Oregon's still ranked ahead of Notre Dame. I think Oregon will be ranked ahead of Notre Dame at the end of the year. I think the win at Oregon will be held in higher regard than the win at Notre Dame week 2 also, as opposed to week 6.
Oregon still got work to do, by the way. They still
do
on their schedule. I mean, so
they still have at Iowa, by the way. Iowa's a solid team. They really are, who has put points on the board this year. Defensively, they're still good, maybe a half a notch below what they've been in the last couple of years, but offensively, they're actually a lot better. It's a sneaky, salty team.
And playing at Kinnick is been tough on many a good team over the years.
But here's one, though, that the scenario you brought up. What if Bama runs the table? Does Bama finish ahead of Indiana? Let's just say Ohio State and Indiana play a good Big Ten championship, 7 to 10 point game either way. But let's just say Indiana loses. Indiana's 12-1. That's their one to the undefeated number 1 team in the country. We all know what Alabama's 12-1 would be. 12 in a row, SEC champ with the week 1 loss at Florida State. Obviously, Indiana has the better loss, but at the end of the year, we would look at Alabama and think, well, it's probably one of the 4 best teams in the country.
Right. And Indiana may still have the best win, believe it or not. I mean, they could. Right. But the next 5 wins would all be Alabama, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Georgia, even Vanderbilt is better than anything that Indiana is going to play the rest of the year.
Well, I don't know about Vandy over, I think Illinois would beat Vandy, but okay.
I don't. I mean, Northwestern just beat Penn State, so we can't even bring that team up as a good win right now. You can't. Sorry. Not with a backup quarterback either.
Fair enough.
But I mean, there's also Georgia, LSU, Oklahoma.
Yeah,
I mean, there's stacks of wins at Alabama. If they run the table, it's legit.
Yeah, it is difficult to imagine with Alabama's schedule that if they throw a 12-1 on the board, which would be 12 in a row, that couldn't get them a top 4 seed. Well,
I guarantee it. SEC champ's going to get a top 4 seed.
Okay.
Book it.
All right. I think it could be a 2-loss team, though. And at that point, I think there's a chance the SEC champ could be a 5 seed.
If Texas Tech's undefeated, they would certainly be able to raise their hand. But I don't, Miami. I mean, if you give Miami, Ohio State, and Indiana 3, SEC champ or undefeated Texas Tech would be a hell of an argument. It really would.
Right. And I'm still, until the committee does something that they've never done before. And I'm talking about this 12 team committee, not the 4 and what they did to Florida State 2 years ago with the injured quarterback. I'm talking about this committee with 12. All right. Until they reward a team that has more losses than another team that has less, I'm not going to believe they're going to do it. We all know what they did last year. They put Indiana and SMU in, and none of the 9-3 SEC teams, even though we could have had a healthy discussion as to who was actually a better team and resume and what have you. And both the teams they put in the playoff lost by double digits and weren't very competitive. And until the committee, in my estimation, Mark, puts a 2 or 3 loss team ahead of a 0 or 1 loss team, I'm not going to believe they're going to do it, because they seem to reward the smallest number in the right-hand column most of all.
No, they always have. There's no doubt. There's no argument from me on that. That's a factual statement. And we can go back 4 teams, 12 teams. It doesn't matter. That's how this selection process has gone. But back to Gainesville.
Yes.
That's how we started. This actually was a 11-minute tangent, because we began talking about if Napier is fired Sunday, and all of the rumors out there say that he will be. And these aren't just message board rumors. These are now the writers who cover the team are starting to talk about this. If you could pick the next Gators coach, who would you choose? And I have 3 names written down for a poll question right now.
I can give you a 4th.
I have a 4th too. I'll let you go first. I have Lane Kiffin down, because that's seemingly a guy that the Gators want. I have Kurt Cignetti down. I have Alex Golish down. And who is your 4th, David?
Gruden.
That was mine. We're in lockstep with that one. Out of this list, I get that there may be others. Pelican Roofing of Florida text line is open. Send me whoever it is that's not on the list if you don't want to. But out of these 4, Kiffin, Cignetti, Golish, and John Gruden, who would you want to be the next coach of the Florida Gators?
Now, see, that's the way you phrase that is difficult. Okay, because who would you want to be the next coach is, you may want someone, but I really don't think you can get him. But if I think he's the top choice of the 4, who should I vote for, if you know what I mean? Like, I don't think they can get Cignetti. You think they can, and that's who you would go all out for.
But again, I said if you could pick the next Gators
Right.
coach out of this list,
Right.
who would you choose? That's all I'm asking. You may be right. They may not be able to get Kurt Cignetti. But there are just as many Gator fans out there that want Kiffin instead of Cignetti. There are others that want Golish. I don't think he has a shot in hell to get the Florida job, because I don't think they're going outside the Power 4 to hire their next coach. But does the win against Florida change all of that for him? Miller_Moulton, that Mark Miller, the David Moulton. Vote.
Let's talk the big differences between Floor Meisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floor Meisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floor Meisters backs their installer. So if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floor Meisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floor Meisters in Naples. Floormeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floor Meisters, just keeping it real.
American Paint Supplies, celebrating 30 years in Naples, is proud to be the exclusive Farrow & Ball dealer in Southwest Florida. The best thing to come from the UK since the Beatles, Farrow & Ball has the colors and paints at American Paint Supplies. See why all the designers and painters choose Farrow & Ball. For 30 years, American Paint Supplies provides the perfect pairing of service and expertise on 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. American Paint Supplies is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing, and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000, depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com. capecops.com. Be brave, be best, be Cape.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at PelicanRoofingCompany.com. CCC 13325.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Does A&M run the table and then lose to Texas in Austin? Here's a question for an A&M fan, David, and I know we don't have any that listen. You can win you can lose to Alabama. Or I'm sorry, you can lose to Texas and win the SEC championship. Or you can beat Texas and lose the SEC championship.
There you go. That's the one. Okay. Reach out the spooner.
Right. Well, and I mean, I'll ask it to, I know Ryan's in here and he's a big Buckeye. You can lose to Indiana for the Big Ten title and beat Michigan, or you lose to Michigan again and win the Big Ten title. I think we know what the answer is. Let Indiana have theirs.
Exactly. I'll help them hang the banner.
I love college football. I truly do.
Now, Adam, I have to admit, I think that's a bad reflection on you. Okay. If you're a fan, you're a fan. Now, I know you replaced the Gators sign with the Jags sign, but Adam, I could argue that just any hire would be worthy of putting the sign back up. Billy didn't work out.
In fact, I think you should put the sign up as soon as he's fired right next to your Jags fan. Michael, glad you're in here. Had the best sushi. I'll put this place up next to Max on Daniels. It's on 6 Mile Cypress, right next to Pop Stroke. There's Little Sicily Pizza. There's the Coldwater Oyster Place. And on the end, there's a new Thai place. Ronnie is the owner. Used to be at Sorella's. He's awesome. Sushi is out of this world. Went last night. Could not recommend it highly enough.
So go Raiders. You want Ed Orgeron? Go Tigers.
I'll put it right up there with it. What I had last night's better than anything I've had at Max, period. It was delicious. I'm eager to hear your review, Michael. You may be right, Matt. It's wonderful. The owner, Ronnie's a good dude. Really good dude.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Roy Cummings to talk the Bucs at the top of the hour. Graham Hall to talk Gators. JP Shadrick from across the pond in London, there with the Jags. He'll be calling the game, Jags and Rams, on Westwood One Sunday morning in the U.S., but we'll talk to JP coming up in our bonus hour. Poll questions up.
Kiffin, Signetti, Golish, Gruden. Who do you want? Quick early voting. Oh, people want to see John Gruden coaching again.
Ha, ha, ha. Wow.
That would be my last choice there. Now, if this were for the Miami Dolphins, yeah, done. That's who Stephen Ross should be hiring. I'd have no problem with that. Now, the Hammer, he might have a problem with it. Because I don't know how much you've paid attention to this, and a lot of you haven't because it's not games, and I get it. But between the two lawsuits against the NFL, one that John Gruden has going and the other that Brian Flores has going, the NFL's getting their ass kicked.
They started off doing okay. They were
Right.
winning. They were winning early. They had some home field court decision advantages. And now that it's either on a neutral playing field or in some cases even, that shifted the other way. Yeah, the NFL's lost for about 12 to 18 months in court in these two situations.
Which could mean the one word the NFL does not want to hear. Discovery.
There you go.
And that's what it's all about. And I don't know if this bores our audience, and we don't spend a lot of time on this because I don't think a lot of you care.
I don't think they do either.
Because we're still going to watch. I mean, this week, I had a texter on the Pelican Roofing of Florida text line just slam the slate of games this week. And you're right. This is not a very sexy looking week in the NFL. How much you want to bet it delivers? Because this league seems to always deliver. But Monday night looks like the two best games, period, of the week. And one of them starts at 10 o'clock.
I hope the Lions and Bucs are healthy enough to give us 3/4 of the game that we hope for, to be honest with you. But somehow both those teams managed to deliver product-wise, Mark. They are both fun teams to watch, the Lions and the Bucs. They deliver a very entertaining product, win or lose.
So that's about the games. And that's why we don't bring up these lawsuits.
Right.
But I'm telling you, the league, Pablo Torre's been doing that story about the Clippers owner, Ballmer, and the company that he basically financially backed so that Kawhi could get a side deal. There's nothing about this that looks like it's on the up and up, if you know what I mean.
And Adam Silver's already been caught in at least one lie.
Blatant lie. And he said, I misspoke. Like,
right.
To a direct question. No. You said you never heard of this company. And It's proven that you 100% did.
Right.
You lied. To apologize, you lied. But the NFL, and no one cares about that NBA story either. I mean, they just don't. Even NBA, because if you like the league, you like the league. And we all love the NFL. So we don't want to hear bad things about it. But with Discovery, we're going to get some dirty laundry.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to find out how the sausage is made, if you know what I mean.
In fact, Mark, I don't know if you've been paid attention to NASCAR. Okay, and while Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan have been losing
Everywhere,
recently in
yes.
court. They started off winning. Lately, they have been losing. However, every judge has said to NASCAR, oh, no. We'll agree with what you're saying now, but we still think the thing should go to trial. Okay, so what does that mean? Discovery. And all of a sudden, 2 weeks ago, NASCAR, with the help of just about every other owner in NASCAR, went to Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin and the other ownership group and said, could you please settle this? And they went, yeah, we'd love to if NASCAR would agree to this and this. And NASCAR said, well, we're not going to agree to that. And so they said, well, then we're not going to settle.
And
It is the first time, 10 seconds. It is the first time, Mark, we wondered which side the other race teams at the end of the day would side with. I will say it was the very first time, whatever they've said privately in the garage, when push came to shove, almost every other race team put it on paper and basically said to Michael Jordan and the other ownership group, we kind of side with NASCAR here. We really don't want you to blow up this sport. Could you please stop and don't blow it up? And Jordan has said, hey, I don't care if we go bankrupt and go away. I'm either going to change this sport to what it should be or I'm out.
And will it affect that sport? I don't know. The sport is not where it was just a few years ago. So it could hurt that one. But between Flores and Gruden, we could find out a lot about the NFL. Now, I don't think it does anything to hurt ratings, because I'll just make this example, David, and I don't know if it's a good one, so you can stop me if you disagree. But essentially, when we allowed college football players to get paid, what had been going on throughout time became above board. And you were all pissed off about it, you fans. You were. I mean, we hear it. David and I have heard, because we've been on the side of the players getting paid for a long time. And we've heard it from you for at least 10 years. The ratings have never been better. So despite the fact that you may not like it, you don't like the portal, and you don't like the fact that these players are making the money that they're making, you're watching more than you ever did.
Now, in parenthesis, I would like to say the rating system now is not what the rating system was 10 years ago. They now are including a lot more sources like bars and other places. So I would love to see what the ratings were 10 and 20 years ago if they could have applied this system to then. But right now, you're right, Mark. Right now, outside of, ironically, the national semifinals and the championship game, outside of the Final Four in football, every other week of college football in the last year plus has been higher rated than it's ever been before. And the early playoff games, which, let's face it, we never had before, are doing great numbers. The last 3 games of the year, not necessarily the numbers that they got in recent times, even with the new rating system, which I think everyone in the sport is curious, how could that be?
Okay, point taken. Then I'll change it slightly. The popularity of college football is every bit as big now as it was before we started paying players legally.
Yeah. We haven't had one person.
We now know in college football how the sausage is made.
Yeah.
And it didn't take away any fans. So I think whatever comes out with this Gruden and Flores lawsuits, separate lawsuits, obviously, whatever comes out, it's not going to affect the NFL's popularity. It's just not.
I don't think so. No. I mean, it'd be entertaining. It'd be like, I'll be damned. Didn't know that.
You know, for Miller and Moulton's sake, we'd like the information to all come out late June, early July.
Yes, and in drips and drabs would be ideal. Yes, if you could start right after Father's Day, right after the Stanley Cup Finals, the NBA Finals, and the U.S. Open, and if you could drag this sucker along to like mid-August, that would be glorious.
That's all we're asking. We don't ask for much on this show. That's something we would genuinely like.
Right.
Miller and Moulton, if you could pick the next Gators coach out of the list we gave you, who would you choose? Kiffin, Signetti, Golish, or Gruden? That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, Miller_Moulton on X. American Paint Supplies, celebrating 30 years in Naples, is proud to be the exclusive Farrow and Ball dealer in Southwest Florida. The best thing to come from the UK since the Beatles, Farrow and Ball has the colors and paints at American Paint Supplies. See why all the designers and painters choose Farrow and Ball. For 30 years, American Paint Supplies provides the perfect pairing of service and expertise on 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. American Paint Supplies is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs.
When Glass Doctor replaces your windshield, we don't just send you on your way, we send you off protected. Your local Glass Doctor includes the industry's only 12-month windshield protection plan at no extra cost. That means unlimited chip repairs and even a one-time replacement if needed. High-quality service backed by real peace of mind, right here in your neighborhood.
Glass Doctor, Glass Doctor. Call the Glass Doctor, we fix your pains. Oh, yeah.
Exclusions apply. See your local Glass Doctor for details.
Let's talk the big differences between Floormeisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floormeisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floormeisters backs their installer, so if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floormeisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floormeisters in Naples. Floormeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to NolanAgency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or NolanAgency.com.
This is Miller and Moulton.
I got lots of text here. There are times when David has his head down like this, and I know he's not paying attention to me, that I want to give fake breaking news just to see if he hears it.
I just wanted to hear Lindsey Nelson. That's all.
I know, but I said something earlier, and you didn't respond. So I know.
I had my headset on.
Yeah.
Huh. No, I missed it.
Right. That's why I said I'm just going to start making stuff up when you're looking down with your headset on to see if I can actually get your attention.
So what'd you say?
I said we got a lot of text here.
Oh, no, I heard that. Yeah.
David, your head's down and you didn't acknowledge.
I know that.
That means you didn't hear it.
Well, no, I heard it. I heard you say it. I just, kind of pushed it to the back because I wanted to see that. And then I figured, yeah, we'll come out of break. I'll do my ditty for 20 seconds, and then you'll take it from there. Well, DC, I don't think it wasn't it private emails between John Gruden and
Allen,
Bruce Allen. And so that would have been on the Redskins / Commanders servers.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes till the top of the hour. That's when Roy Cummings will join us. We'll look back and look ahead for the 5-1 best record in the NFC, tied with the best record in football, Tampa Bay Bucs, who are in Detroit early on Monday night. Graham Hall, an hour from now, to talk the Gators situation, which leads to our poll question. Of these four, who would you most want to be the next coach of the Gators? Because the reporting now is Billy Napier is dead man walking, and he done after the homecoming game Saturday against Mississippi State. Of these four, Mark, who do they want?
Kiffin, Cignetti, Golish, and Gruden are the four we gave you. Lane Kiffin now has sprung out in the lead. Remember not only to vote on this poll question, but our Shoeless Joe Sports Cafe poll questions, where you choose what games are going to get the volume in the 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock slots on Sunday. And right now, there's still a pretty good chance that you could change the vote for the 1 o'clock slot or the 4 o'clock slot. 1 o'clock slot looks done. Philadelphia and Minnesota, strong lead. Miami and Cleveland is like at 14%. Philadelphia, Minnesota at 72%. But for the 4 o'clock games, the Chargers and Colts right now with 45%. Washington and Dallas with 30%. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, Miller_Moulton on X to vote. Remember, wear your jersey to Shoeless Joe's on Sunday. Whatever game you're watching, they'll have them all on, and you get great discounts. Shoeless Joe Sports Cafe, proud sponsor of Miller and Moulton, as is Pelican Roofing of Florida. And the Pelican Roofing of Florida text line is wide open. 21,000 is the number. If you have not texted the show before, you need to text the keyword Miller before you start letting us know what you think. And a lot of you have been when it comes to the new Gators coach. And I said, if it's not someone on the list, I'd love to hear who you think it is. And someone just simply typed Matt Campbell. Another one, we were talking about the Georgia Tech coach, Brent Key, earlier, said, please don't take the best coach that we've had in recent memory.
My understanding is he, as an alum, has no desire to leave. He thinks he's getting them to spend the money that they've had and said they haven't had, and that he has no reason to leave except if the Alabama job opens up. And that's not going to open up anytime soon.
A couple people saying Kiffin, one saying I'm leaning Kiffin, but Cignetti is rising for me. And I want to address this again because we know people are popping in and out all morning. We've addressed this yesterday. We addressed it today, and we'll address it again right now. Someone says a sneaky name you guys aren't mentioning is Freeman. Oh, no, we've mentioned it. We don't think you have a chance in hell of getting him.
No, I don't think.
We don't. And I know Gator fan does. And the name has been out there. I will grant you that. I've seen it in several places. But if you step back and take off your Gator-colored glasses, why would you leave Notre Dame for Florida?
This isn't 2004 when Urban Meyer was deciding in the fall of 2004 while leading Utah to a perfect season whether or not to take the Notre Dame job or the Florida job. Think about how different the landscape was. Look at all the things that were going against Notre Dame 20 years ago versus literally every single change to college athletics has benefited Notre Dame. Every single one.
They can pay players too. This just in, Notre Dame's got lots of money. We talked about it yesterday. All of the conferences split their bowl money. Notre Dame's not in a conference.
Nope.
They keep all that money.
Made it to the national championship game last year. Split it with nada.
And when you add that on top of what they're getting for their own television deal, they're getting more David, they're getting more per year than SEC schools, a little less than Big Ten schools. Is that right?
Yes.
From that portion of their money, when you add their TV deal to the bowl money that they make, they're doing better than SEC schools financially with their TV deal and bowl money that they split with everybody in the conference in a little less than the Big Ten.
And instead of having a 2-team or a 4-team playoff, they now have a 12, soon to be 16-team playoff, in which literally a spot is reserved for them if they can meet a certain threshold. And that threshold is not winning a conference championship.
And what did they do this past year? Instead of the best 4 conference champions get the first round buys, it's now the best 4 teams, because there was no way in the previous rules for Notre Dame to get a first round bye. The rules changed after 1 year. Now Notre Dame can get one. Now, if they end up 10-2 this year, we know they're not getting a bye. Hell, they're not going to get a home game. They're not at 10. They shouldn't at 10-2, in my opinion, unless things really blow up between now and then.
But at 10-2, they're getting a playoff spot guaranteed, while other schools may have to fight and lobby or may have to, after 10-2, play in a conference title game and win it. Literally, you could argue every change to college football since Urban Meyer was deciding which job to take has gone from edge Florida to edge, in some cases, big edge Notre Dame. I know Gator fan doesn't want to hear this. You ask people in the sport right now, better job, Florida or Notre Dame, they'd start laughing.
So we don't think they have a shot. I know there are reports that say his name's on the list. And
I'm sure it is.
I would have it on the list.
Yeah. Listen, Nick Saban's name should be on the list. I agree with Joel Klatt. Joel Klatt did his show podcast yesterday, and he said, listen, if I'm Penn State, it's a shot in the dark. It's kind of the shot Fox Sports took when Troy left, and they said, man, we don't know who we're going to get. Why don't we just, for the hell of it, let's call Brady. Let's at least make him say no before we start going to plan B, C, D, whatever. And they talked Tom into it. Joel Klatt made the point, don't you have to call Saban? I mean, seriously, you can call anybody alive, okay, to be your head coach. Don't you have to call Nick and just have him laugh and go, I appreciate it, but no, I have no interest. Okay, just had to make sure there was still not a little itch there, because if so, here's a blank piece of paper and a pen.
All right, let's get to another team that's going to have a new head coach next year, but I don't want to talk about that. We've talked about that a lot. By the way, when we do put that poll question up for the Miami Dolphins, we'll have John Gruden on that list too. But yesterday, Chris Perkins was on the show and talked about the fact that the team meets with the media on Wednesday. And Tua apologized. Tua spoke for a good bit of time, but basically gave a 90-second apology in which he said, I made mistakes, shouldn't have said what I said. I've talked to my teammates, talked to the coaches. They all understand. And yet, any of the teammates that were asked about it declined to comment. That was telling. You said this yesterday, David. If the players don't talk, aren't they saying, yeah, we don't really accept your apology? Because instead of declining comment, they could have simply said, yep, he apologized. We accepted his apology. That's a really easy sentence to say.
Right. There wasn't one player that went on the record and supported Tua.
Not one.
Which we think is telling. We may be overanalyzing a 3-car funeral here, but I don't think we are. I will also say, while most of the apology sounded like a sincere apology, I hate when they also throw in, those I may have offended, what the misquoting of the media. Dude, you screwed up. You threw unnamed teammates under the bus. You basically said everybody but me has got a stand up and be accounted for problem on this team. Okay? Come on.
And don't apologize to the media, because all we did, and we didn't play it, but all the media did was simply play the clip. It wasn't that long, Tua.
Right.
It wasn't like you gave a 5-minute mea culpa and we picked out 25 seconds of which to talk about. No. We just played it from start to end and said, I'll be damned.
I mean,
he just threw the whole team under the bus.
An apology is an apology. I don't believe in a 98% apology. If you're apologizing, you're apologizing. There is no but. There's no comma either. You apologize. Listen, my comments after the game Sunday, I was wrong. I'm not going to
never aired my dirty laundry publicly.
Yeah,
that's on me.
Right. I'm not going to get into what I said. Okay. But I was wrong for saying what I said. Period. I've apologized to my teammates. I hope they accept it. All right. I would like to still be a leader on this team. I think we can still do great things. I was wrong Sunday afternoon. I apologize to Coach McDaniel, to my teammates, and to the fans in the organization. I was 100% in the wrong. I'm sorry. It will never happen again. That's an apology. Anything less than that is crap, as far as I'm concerned. There's no 98% apology. You apologize or you make excuses. And I don't think there's any area in between.
Miller and Moulton. They play Cleveland on Sunday. We think it's a loser leave town match for the two coaches.
I do. First off, I think Stefanski's begging to get out. How in the world could he want to stay? He's won Coach of the Year twice in Cleveland. Okay, he can coach. The organization's a joke. Okay, he's got to be begging to get out. Begging privately to his wife and family. Please, can't wait. Start packing up. This isn't going to end well. It's going to end this year. I hope it's Monday.
You know what is fascinating, David, and obviously everything's been made in the offseason and through the season now since they've traded Flacco of the two quarterbacks that they drafted in Gabriel and Shador Sanders. You know, the rest of their draft picks have played pretty damn well.
Yeah.
I mean, they really have.
Well,
the kid from Michigan's been great.
He's
the running back's been terrific. I mean, they actually had a good draft. Their offense is just abysmal.
Yeah. They don't have a quarterback. It's really tough to move the ball in that league without a quarterback. And I will say they don't have wide receivers either.
No, they don't.
I mean, so that's a tough. Basically, they were the New England Patriots a couple years ago. Shocker. They only won 3 or so games and coaches got fired. Really? Well, you don't have good quarterback play and you don't have any weapons. Huh. Don't know why you can't score points.
Well, also the smartest guy in the room said I can take a defensive coordinator and make him an offensive coordinator and think it's going to work.
Right.
I mean, that was the beginning of the end for Bill
Yes.
Belichick in New England.
I'm
smarter than all. I can make anybody an offensive coordinator. No, you actually can't.
I almost wonder if he did that just to spite Kraft. They hated each other so much. He's like, you know what? Blank you. But anyway, he took his talents to Chapel Hill. It seems to be going well.
And he's still being petty towards the Patriots.
Yes.
Incredibly petty. Because all teams in college football celebrate when their stars are on the verge of becoming stars on Sunday. They post highlights. They say nice things. North Carolina has not had a post about Drake May.
Right.
I mean, Bill, you're an idiot. I'm sorry. You're an idiot for this. Who's going to want to come play for you if you're not going to celebrate what they do at the next level? I don't give a damn that he's doing it with the Patriots. The fact that you're not allowing their scouts in is simple and petty.
Don't worry. Mac Brown's sending out nice tweets about Drake May. So.
Oh, I love it.
And everybody loves Mac too. He does. Everyone involved in college football loves Mac Brown.
And
you have no idea,
David. Everybody in North Carolina does too.
Yes,
you're right in what you're saying. But more importantly, for that university, he is beloved there. He won at North Carolina. No one else ever has. No one.
Miller and Moulton.
Roy Cummings coming up top of the 8 o'clock hour. Graham Hall to join us to talk about the Gators, and JP Shadrick to talk Jags in a little more than an hour. Right here, Miller and Moulton. Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team
Okay, Robes. Cody Mock's out for the year, Robes. The injury, he's out for the year. That happened in the second game of the year against the Texans. No, Adam, I didn't hear any break audio there either, but I'm sure you guys didn't miss the ads.
Yeah, I mean, I had them running.
Yeah, they didn't air on Twitch and YouTube.
I don't know how that's possible, but
yeah, I don't either. But
morning, Roy.
Hey there. How we doing?
Good. How are you?
How are you?
Good, thanks. Blackhawks won big last night.
Look at you. You just transition. You're just a glutton for punishment, aren't you? Okay.
Yeah, I guess so.
They took that Cubs Game 5 loss, and you rude about it for 12 hours, and then you said, "All right, I got the Blackhawks, I got the Lightning, I got the Bucs. I can make it."
That's right.
Hey, I'm right there with you, though. My Wings beat Florida, and I was way more into that than I was in the baseball game. Like, wow.
Yeah.
Bank these early season wins. You need them.
Absolutely, you need them.
And I will say, I don't think Chicago sniffs the playoffs, but the West is far inferior to the East. If there's a wild card spot to be had by someone who you don't think can get it, it's in the West.
Totally agree. Detroit got off to a rough start, but that first game was a clunker, but they played really well last night.
Yeah, they did.
I have tickets for Sunday afternoon. They host McDavid and the Oilers.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's
because I fly in late morning to Detroit for Monday Night Football the next day.
Okay.
So I treated myself. I'm up, but I'm center ice, but I'm like 10 rows from the top. So
I have not been to the new Joe, so I don't know what that's like.
It's nice. It's very nice.
Good.
Okay. And when I went a couple years ago for a Leafs game on the day before Thanksgiving, the night before Thanksgiving, the food choices were excellent. Concourses were wide, accessible. Nice. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really nice hockey arena.
Yeah, good. Well, I'm not surprised. They got one of the best baseball teams.
And I'm not a America guy. That's three pretty good places to see a game there.
Yes.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
We are halfway home in Jacksonville, Tampa, St. Pete, and Southwest Florida. Final hour of the show, Port Charlotte, Venice, and surrounding areas. Live Oak Lake City and surrounding areas. We are Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Graham Hall of 24/7 Sports. We'll talk the Gators situation in about 35 minutes. JP Shadrick live from across the pond in London. Jags getting ready for the Rams, but it's time for Roy Cummings. He of Bay News 9 in Tampa, St. Pete, and been a part of Miller and Moulton for, well, as long as there's been Miller and Moulton. You can follow Roy on X at rcummingsfhcn, rcummingsfhcn. Roy, how are you?
I am good, guys. I am very good. Thanks for asking.
So how'd you handle the first Bucs win of the year in which it didn't come down to the final seconds? Okay, as somebody points out in our Twitch chat room, they actually had the victory formation they had to use. They haven't had that all year.
Yeah, I almost didn't recognize it. I'm serious. When they came out and got into it, I'm like, what the heck are they doing? I mean, it was so unusual for these guys. And then I remember, oh, yeah, that's right. They're up by a couple of scores. They're good here. So, yeah, I know that was good. I mean, it was look, they got a break when Fred Warner got knocked out. but they took advantage of that break, and it's kind of what they've been doing all year. They're taking advantage of their opportunities and just making the best of it. And to me, it's a really interesting and fun team to watch because they've got so many kids that are stepping up and playing roles that they weren't expected to play and excelling in those roles that they are. It's not just Baker Mayfield. There's a lot more there with this team. He's getting all the ink, and well, he should, but he should get a majority of it. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of other people contributing to this, and you see it week in and week out, and that's what's making it fun and exciting.
Well, those things are all the positives. Unfortunately, Ibuka gets hurt. The good news is that it doesn't appear to be a long-term thing, but more than likely he's not going to be able to suit up Monday night against Detroit. The good news there again is Detroit's secondary is awful. So whatever receivers play, I think they have the ability to get open. But for Baker now, he's already leading this team, and guys are doing their job. And you brought this up a lot, Roy, but Jason Light really doesn't get the credit. Todd Bowles doesn't get the credit he deserves. Jason Light doesn't get the credit he deserves because it's now painfully obvious that 1 to 53 and then maybe even into the practice squad, this is a well-built roster, Roy.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, when you look at it, look, they went out and got Teddy Bridgewater just in case something happens with Baker Mayfield. That got a lot of ink. But what didn't get a lot of ink was the fact that, at the running back position, they're 2 and 3 deep, which we've talked about many times. Now we're seeing it at the wide receiver spot. Tez Johnson, 6th, 7th round
MVP.
Yeah, I mean, making big plays. They've had, they played without Jamel Dean and won without Jamel Dean. Now he's back. That's great. The tight end group is very deep. The offensive line has proven to be effective despite the fact that, it's a patchwork unit. And the credit for that all goes to Jason Light and his scouting staff. Those are the unsung heroes, really. I saw somebody in the building this week said that the unsung hero of this team is Rachaad White, and well, he's averaging 4 yards a carry, so that's pretty good. But you know what? At the end of the day, the real unsung heroes are the scouts that are digging through the trenches and finding these guys in the later rounds and in undrafted free agency and bringing people in off other people's practice squads and making this team whole.
Well, you mentioned you thought the Bucs caught a break with the injury to Fred Warner. Also, San Francisco far from healthy. They were probably even more injured than Tampa Bay was. But now here are the Bucs with arguably without their top 4 receivers. We know the big 3, but even their 4th receiver got hurt in training camp, and he's out until at least week 9 on injured reserve. Okay, their top running back, his status is up in the air. Roy, will they have enough weaponry to beat Detroit? You have to score points to beat the Lions. Okay, probably in the upper 20s, maybe even crack 30. Will they have enough weaponry Monday night?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think the answer is pretty simple, though. If Baker Mayfield is having a good night and he's on, then they have the weapons. Because they're using Rachaad White in a lot of different ways, and that's, that makes sense. Sean Tucker is a guy that can obviously run the ball as well. It's that's the third guy in that room that doesn't get a lot of ink and people don't know a lot about, but they may find out about here in the next week or so. We saw what Tez Johnson can do. Ryan Miller is going to be back, and then you look at there was only one game where they've really relied on Cade Otton a lot. That could happen too, and so I think there's ways for them to make this work. This is the biggest challenge I think they've faced. Arguably the best team they've faced outside of the Eagles on the road. It's just going to be a tough one. It's a tough one for them. And if they don't win this one, given all that they're dealing with, I don't give them a pass, but you say, okay, you get it. But this is also a winnable game for them as long as everybody plays at a high level. And I think what really needs to happen here, and Baker Mayfield talked about it last week at the end of the game, complementary football. We've seen it the last couple of weeks where a big takeaway late has helped this team immensely. And if that happens again, it doesn't have to happen late, just has to happen. one or two takeaways could really turn the tide in this game. So I think with the offense rather, limited, a bit limited, and certainly down in numbers. I think the defense has to step up, and they have to kind of take the banner here and run with it and say, okay, this one's on us, guys. This one's on us. Warren Sapp and Derek Brooks and those guys used to say, give us 19 points and we'll take care of the rest. This is one of those weeks when the defense, and I think it's capable, has to say, okay, give us 19 and we'll take care of the rest. Got to take the ball away.
Boy, that is glass half full against the Lions offense on the road. It's one thing if it's at home and you got the crowd and you got the other elements, but they kind of laid an egg last week. I don't see it happening twice. And this is a stretch, and there's a bye in here, but 4 of the next 5 games for the Bucs are on the road. Only one of those games will they be favored in. I don't think they'll be favored. They're not favored this week. They won't be favored when they go to Buffalo. I don't think they'll be favored when they go to the Rams. And their home games against New England, and all of a sudden, that game that you kind of checked as a win, they're going to be favored at home, but the Patriots look like they're a real opponent. With the injuries, the bye week couldn't come at a bigger time. But this seems like this is a stretch where, we've loved what we've seen so far. They continue it, then they're proving something.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's a tough stretch for them, and it's tougher given the fact that, who they're missing in the lineup. So, we'll see. But look, New Orleans, certainly a winnable game. That helps. They're riding a big wave of confidence. That's the best thing is, guys are making plays, and this kind of fuels you a little bit. When Tez Johnson goes out there, in game 1, there's probably a little bit inside of him saying, okay, do I really belong here? Well, now he knows he belongs, and so does Baker Mayfield and everybody else. That helps. That kind of thing helps, and we've seen that happen throughout the roster, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. On the defensive side, because of the injuries in the secondary, a lot of young guys have had opportunities there as well. And I think this team is riding a pretty strong wave of confidence right now that can carry them through a couple of these games. Again, I don't think anybody expects them to be 5-1 at this point, especially given the injuries that they had at the beginning of the year and what they've suffered since. So I think they're out there. They're really surprising people, and I think the ability is there to continue to do it. A lot of it does fall on Baker Mayfield's shoulders, but again, as I said, at some point I think the defense has to step up and really win a game for them. This may not be the one. You're absolutely right. Tough ask there, but at the end of the day, that's what championship teams do. And I think the Bucs believe they're a championship caliber team in some form. So let's see what you do against one of the best in the league.
Tim on YouTube is asking, do you think the Bucs will make a trade to bolster the D-line or anywhere else? I will say, do you think they have to make a trade to bolster at least one of the defensive units? I would bolster the line.
Yeah, I totally agree 100%. I think they do need to try to make a trade here to bolster the defensive line. I think they feel okay about the offensive line. I think they feel like they're going to be all right there. To me, you still have to get after the quarterback. And the good thing about it is running the 3-4 that they're running now, I think there's more options available. I think they can go out and get somebody that can work for them in this scheme, that can put his hands in the dirt, or he can stand up and still get after the passer. But they've got to get better there, and I think that's the key to it all, to be honest. And this is a year, we've texted back and forth a little bit on this, but this is the year where I would surrender a second-round pick, a third-round pick, maybe both, a second and a fourth, a third and a fourth, whatever it might be, to get a legitimate piece that can get after the passer a little bit.
Yeah,
It's the thing that's missing.
I'd give up a first rounder for Max Crosby. I'm not playing around.
Oh yeah,
I'm not playing around. The NFC, the league's wide open this year. You need a pass rusher. He's under contract for many years. Hendrickson with the Bengals is a rental. All right. Max Crosby is a different deal. He's the guy.
At the deadline, they can afford him, David. They've got enough. They've got like 17 million. Right. And if you're getting him halfway through, I think he makes 33 or something like that. So you can do that. You could. And you've got the money to do it.
Yeah, and based on where you are now and where you think you're going to be you're going to be picking in the bottom third again. And if that's the case, look what they've picked up in the bottom third. It's not like they've grabbed anybody there in the last 2-3 years that's really made a massive difference for them. They're still waiting for most of those guys to come through. So, that tells you right there. If you're giving up a first-round pick for a guy like Crosby or somebody similar to that, I think absolutely, to me, it's one of the few times with Jason Light that he would say, yeah, okay, this one makes sense to me. To me, it's a no-brainer. If you can do it, because you need to bolster this team, particularly up front on both sides of the ball.
Roy Cummings, Bay News 9, Miller and Moulton. Follow him on X at @RCummingsFHCN, @RCummingsFHCN. Roy, as always, appreciate the time. Have a good weekend. Enjoy your hockey.
I will. Thanks, guys.
We signed up with Roy right before the top of the hour, and he goes, how about those Blackhawks last night? It's unbelievable. He needs about 12 hours to get over a season ending, and he just moves right on. Miller and Moulton. Graham Hall in 25 minutes to talk the Gators.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Let's talk the big differences between Floor Meisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floor Meisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floor Meisters backs their installer. So if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floor Meisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floor Meisters in Naples. Floormeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floor Meisters, just keeping it real.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Cape Coral Police Department is growing and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000 depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to CapeCops.com. CapeCops.com. Be brave, be best, be Cape.
This is Miller and Moulton.
I had to look it up, and I didn't. We ran out of time with Roy, but Baker's third on the team in rushing, but more importantly, he has 11 first downs rushing.
Did you see the clip of Todd Bowles talking about the Baker scramble?
No.
When he, avoided the sack and then juked a guy and then had to run over somebody and extend near midfield to get the first down. What ended up being a play or two later, he throws the long touchdown. Todd Bowles is going, at first, I'm worried. Okay, get down, because he's going to get sacked and he's going to get hurt. And then he gets out of the pocket, and I'm like, throw it away. Okay, and of course he won't do that. Okay, and then I'm like, slide, and of course he doesn't do that. And then he lowers his shoulder, his throwing shoulder, into a DB, and I'm like, get down. And then he extends the ball beyond the marker and for a first down. And I'm like, way to go, Baker.
It's the old chuck up the three-pointer. No. Good
Nice
shot.
shot. Oh, get back. Oh.
last 6, but yes, you're right, Larry. Because I don't think they're going to be favored at LA. Like, I don't think they'll be a favorite. They're not a favorite this week. They'll be favored at New Orleans. They'll be favored at home for New England. They won't be favored at Buffalo. They won't be favored at the Rams. But then a 3-game home stretch with Arizona, New Orleans, Atlanta. They'll be favored in all of those. Getting Atlanta at home on a Thursday at that time of the year is a big deal. A big deal. Oh, I think that, Larry, I don't think it's just winning the division. I mean, I do think that they are in strong contention to be a 1 seed. The NFC West at some point will beat itself up a little bit. If the Eagles can't figure things out, we'll see. Now, they obviously, lose the head-to-head if they're tied. But, I mean, they could be playing for a bye and home all the way through the playoffs. I think they can go 2-3 in these 5, and it's okay. Be 7-4, and they could possibly run the table from there, Larry. And throw a 13-4 up, and that could be good enough for a 1 seed in the NFC.
Somebody asked me earlier, will I be at the Notre Dame game? No. I'm at Ohio State, Wisconsin. And then Bucs Lions.
Green Bay would be the fly in the ointment to me, Larry. It really would. That damn tie.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Graham Hall to talk the Gators situation in 15 or so minutes. The Gators are the focus of our poll question today. Of these 4 that are in the poll question, which one of these 4 would you most want to be the next coach of the Gators? And the choices are Alex Golesh of South Florida, Curt Cignetti of Indiana, Lane Kiffin of Ole Miss, and John Gruden. And for a while, early on, Gruden was winning. And as Mark pointed out a little while ago, when Mike McDaniel gets fired, possibly as soon as Monday, okay, we'll have John Gruden on the poll question as to who should be the next Dolphins coach.
Yes, we will.
But I'll tell you what, if we put Gruden on it, I want to be really snarky. I want to put Brian Flores on it too.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
But Graham Hall in about 15 minutes.
And David, do you think without essentially doing what the Lions did and what the Jags did this last time, and that's put someone between the GM and the owner, if you will, do you think the Dolphins have any shot on their own to be successful with Stephen Ross being the owner of that football team?
I would say no for this reason. He has had numerous attempts to hire a terrific coach. Now, maybe he had one in Brian Flores. And the reason that Brian Flores had to leave may have been Chris Grier. But, remember, the Dolphins chose Chris Grier and Tua over Brian Flores.
Looking like a horrible decision. And
Hey.
Miller and Moulton are wrong on this one. We were Tua guys.
Yep.
We were wrong.
No, I thought he would be better than this. Did not think he would peak 2+ years ago. Now, I didn't see some of these injuries coming, but bottom line is you bet on a guy, you make him your franchise quarterback. He either delivers or he doesn't. And has Tua been a franchise quarterback. Moments don't count. A year
Nope.
and a half doesn't count.
Nope.
I mean, you could ask the Tampa Bay Bucs. Josh Freeman for a year and a half was a franchise quarterback. And then when he stopped being a franchise quarterback, 3 coaches and a GM lost their job. And the franchise was in disrepair for years.
Until they got Tom Brady.
Right.
I mean, literally, until they got Tom Brady. They went through a 20-year season ticket list in that time.
Right.
Of waiting list, that is. I mean,
in 6 to 8 years.
Right.
But so I don't have confidence that Stephen Ross will hire the right people. And in theory, it's one person. I mean, it's one, whether it's the president of football operations, whether it's the general manager. I mean, there's some talk, should Dan Marino have the Tony Boselli, Chris Spielman role with the Dolphins, where he's the football guy in between the GM and the owner? Well, it's not like the owner's living in Miami. The owner lives in New York. Okay, the owner just flies in for the games anyway. So somebody's reporting to the owner as it is. Should it be Dan? But then again, how much say does Dan have? Like Tony Boselli has say. Okay, Tony Boselli was intimately involved in who the GM and the coach were going to be. Do we want Dan Marino to be given that kind of authority? Spielman.
And let me ask you that. Obviously, he's the best quarterback in franchise history. He's one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game. Does he deserve that title?
Well, that's just it. Like, listen, Chris Spielman was hired last. Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell were hired first. Okay. The new owner, she put Spielman in between. She said, I need a football guy, somebody, who knows what it's like with the Lions, somebody I like and know and trust. I need a football guy. I can't be here all the time. Okay. I need someone in between me and Brad Holmes. Okay. And I trust Chris Spielman, and he knows football. So I'm going to make you president. Chris doesn't get in the way of what Brad Holmes wants to do. Okay. But he serves an important role. Boselli's got more say in Jacksonville. I mean, if you're Stephen Ross, you going to do it the Lions way or the Jags way? You got to get the people right, but you got to get the first hire right.
He's way too old to get the job, but I know he would, but the director of football operations, and he's too old. But the guy that I see who cares the most about the Dolphins, that's an ex-Dolphin, that's always out there trying to cheer on his team and desperately wants them to be great again, is Larry Zonka. I don't see any passion out of Marino towards the Dolphins. Maybe he has it.
I know he has it. Okay. I mean, he flies around pre-draft stuff. I mean, he has invested a lot more of his time with the Dolphins, quite frankly, Mark, than I thought he would. I thought he would be very ceremonial. He actually has put in a lot more time than just being a ceremonial guy. I think
he's been involved in pre-draft stuff. Do I want him running my football team? Because we could really question their draft record over the last 15 years.
Well, listen, there's a nice little rumor going around that Marino wanted Herbert. Okay. I mean, so, and that was out there early. That wasn't out there, in the last year. That's been out there from the beginning, just so you know. Because let's face it, when Dan looked at one guy and looked at the other, which one reminded him more of him?
Right. No, there's no doubt there. And I will say, I don't know why they would do it, to be brutally honest, because I'm seeing rumors that your team, the Giants, is really trying to get a receiver.
Right.
Why?
For Dart.
Not just to save him this year?
Yeah, because the whole organization depends on Jackson Dart, and because they've lost neighbors, okay, and they don't really, and they actually lost their number 2 guy. I don't think Wan'Dale Robinson's a number 2. I think he's the number 3. Okay, they think they're a receiver short, and they want Dart to continue to develop, and they don't want defenses to bog down this offense. So I think they want a receiver they're willing to do a rental just for the rest of this year because they think the development of Jackson Dart is that important.
Because one of the names that I saw was Waddle.
Yeah, well, that's more than just this year.
I know.
And you got to pay a price there. And that would be, I mean, the Giants already don't have a third-round pick next year to trade up and get Dart. So that would be interesting. If you're making that type of deal.
That's a second rounder, isn't it?
Yes, minimum. That's probably a second and something else. Yes.
Olave, I saw mentioned. Same thing. That's a second. If you don't have a third, because it's not a fourth. So yeah, I get it from the point that you're making, but I'm just going, I know Neighbors is coming back. He's excellent. If he comes back, and most young players with this injury can come back without missing a beat. So I just find it peculiar to give up draft picks for another receiver. I think there are more needs when they go into the draft than another receiver. That offensive line's not great. It's not even very good. So,
no, I hear you, but I think a receiver is easier to be had than an offensive lineman mid-season.
That's very true.
Yeah. So, but once again, we talked about it yesterday. You only have 4 teams in the NFC with a losing record right now. Now, you got a lot more in the AFC, but there are a lot more teams that are 500 or above right now than I would say even normally are. So, if you're 500 and above, obviously you think you're in it, but the Cowboys are 2-3-1. They still think they're in it. So how many teams are willing? We're 19 days before the deadline. We have 2 more Sundays or 3 more Sundays. Okay. We have at least 2 more. I think it's 3 more Sundays before the trade deadline. Okay. So that can change. We could have a lot more pretenders 2+ weeks from now than we do now.
No, you're absolutely right. This deadline will come right to the day because, like you said, so many teams are in it. Graham Hall to talk to Gators. That's next, Miller and Moulton.
Think we only fix windows? Think again. Your local Glass Doctor Home and Business does so much more to upgrade your home. We custom build stunning shower and bath enclosures, install sleek glass doors and windows, and can bring fresh life to foggy or cracked panes. Need a glass tabletop or a statement mirror? Yep, we do that too. If it's glass and it's in your home, we're the team to call.
Call the Glass Doctor, we fix your pains. Oh yeah!
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
Let's talk the big differences between Floor Meisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floor Meisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floor Meisters backs their installer. So if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floor Meisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floor Meisters in Naples. FloorMeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floor Meisters, just keeping it real.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Two things, Phil, for what it's worth. The word on Louis Riddick is he doesn't interview well. Now, Tony Dungy didn't interview well either, but just saying that the word on Riddick is, and he's been given a few interviews, is that he's not great in them. As to go Raiders, first off, I kind of resent that comment a lot of it number one. Number two, I mentioned Flores because he was the former coach of the Dolphins, and it would be the Dolphins' way of saying, I'm sorry, we were wrong. I thought you'd be able to pick up on that. I even told you before I said the comment that I was going to be snarky. So kind of resent your comment there a lot.
I think he was being snarky. I took that as being snarky, David.
I took it as him being an asshole.
Hey. Come on now.
Just
Hey, Dan Dickerson, open, we never know when the mics are open.
well, unless you're going to fire me, I like my chances of surviving. No, Larry, that's why I bought the ticket. It's because I've never seen McDavid in person.
Yeah, I'm really strong, and I've not bought him yet. But I mean, there's part of me that really wants to go to the Lightning Panthers game in Sunrise, and then there's part of me that wants to go the next week to see McDavid.
So it's 3 p.m. I mean,
That's, by the way, awesome.
what, 3 p.m?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. And Michael, listen, we both have said it since the offseason. We didn't think the Broncos had enough weapons. And this corner they drafted in the first round, he's a good player. And like Pat and others thought it was a great draft pick. Made their defense even better. But I thought they needed to take a receiver or a big-time running back.
I got to tell you, if they were to get Olave, that would be. I would give up.
By the way,
the problem is the Broncos don't have any money. I mean, I don't know what Olave makes, but the Broncos have less than $6 million.
And go Raiders, listen.
That's not a lot. By the way, that's not a lot of money when you have a quarterback on a rookie deal.
Right. And listen, Mark thought it was a joke, so maybe it's on me. I mean, I know you're a good guy. But obviously I didn't mean it for racial purposes. I meant it for the Dolphins screwed up by getting rid of him purposes. But Adam, we will ask JP how many Guinnesses he has had so far on his excursion. Coming up in 24 minutes.
David, text Graham. I don't have phones. I don't know what's going on. The phones are not working.
Can he call in or?
Phones are not working. Are they out, or is there a way to reset this?
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
22 minutes till the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. JP Shadrick scheduled to join us at the top of the hour from across the pond. All right, we're having some issues with the phones in the studio, so we're trying to hook up with Graham Hall of 24/7 Sports, and hopefully he can get through. But right now there's a little hitch in our giddy up here, which we were unaware of the first 2.5 hours of the show. So hopefully we can get over it.
I've never even looked to test the phone lines ever. So I don't think we have phones, and that unfortunately means we're not going to be able to get Graham. So
right.
Our apologies.
Yes, if that's the case. And we want to talk to him since he covers the Gators, because apparently we're about ready to have regime change in Gainesville, about 72 hours away. It's our poll question. Who would you like to see be the next coach of the Gators? We give you 4 candidates. There's also the text line at 21,000. Feel free if it's someone not on that list. But we put Kurt Cignetti, Lane Kiffin, Alex Golish, and John Gruden on the list. And if you have someone else that you would like, well, feel free to text us at 21,000. Miller and Moulton on this Thursday. Toronto, a winner in the ALCS last night. All the road teams have won so far in the LCSs. And we've got 2 baseball games today and tonight. An LCS at 6 o'clock, ALCS at 8:30.
I love these 6 o'clock games. They are just so fantastic. Nothing makes me happier than getting some early baseball. And the fact that, we do today was a day when, I think it was yesterday, was the first night World Series game in 1970. That blew me away when I saw that. Like, it wasn't earlier that, like, really? It was all day games during the 60s? No wonder some of these places you could get tickets up till the last minute.
Well, and it's also why if you look at attendance, at some of those games, you'd be very surprised. And it's like, well, it was in 2 p.m. So, and just need to do this on the air, which isn't the best of radio. Graham Hall is trying to call in. He's getting a busy signal.
Yeah, the phones don't work.
Yeah. So I let him know. So we apologize, and hopefully we can get this worked out by tomorrow. JP Shadrick scheduled to join us not via phone, coming up in about 20 minutes time. But Brewers and Dodgers at 6, Jays and Mariners at 8:30, game 3 in the National League, game 4 in the American League, and so far the home teams are 0-5 in the LCS round of the baseball playoffs. Thursday night football, dubbed the Icy Hot Bowl, because both starting quarterbacks are 40 years of age or older. Aaron Rodgers is 41. He and the Steelers are in Cincinnati to take on Joe Flacco, who's 40, and the Cincinnati Bengals. Steelers are 4.5-point favorite. And Mark went through the stats earlier in the show. Mike Tomlin and the Steelers, not good on Thursdays, period. Not good in division games on Thursdays, period. Not good as favorites on Thursdays, period.
Yeah, never have won a division road game on a Thursday night. They're 0-8. The Steelers are as a team. Tomlin 0-6. Tomlin 1-7 on Thursday night games on the road, period. So big spot for Cincinnati. We think it's, the end of a coach if they lose here. Maybe not right away, but he'll be done at the end of the year. And the division will damn near be over if Pittsburgh wins the game. I mean, Baltimore still plays them twice. But if you look at the Steelers' schedule, their ability if they win that game to get to 10 or 11 is pretty strong. And it's tough to see Baltimore getting there.
Yeah, we were very optimistic about the Ravens a week ago, in which we said, let's give them a loss to the Rams, but they get Lamar back very shortly thereafter. And we mapped it out and gave them the benefit of the doubt on every single scheduling occasion. And we had the Ravens at best going 10-7. So if the Steelers can win tonight to get to 5-1, you see that basically 500 football the rest of the way would get them the division title. Graham Hall is kind enough to overcome our deficiencies on the phone lines this morning and join us. Graham Hall of 24/7 Sports covers the Gators for a living, has for a long time. You can follow Graham on X at Graham Hall, GrahamHall, and read his work at 247sports.com. Graham, it's David and Mark. Thanks for doing this. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, guys. Hope all is well with you. Certainly an interesting time in Gainesville right now. We love to say never a dull moment for good or for bad reasons, and I think that's certainly true right now.
Well, there's no doubt, not a dull moment. And yesterday, got a lot of Gator fans that I keep in touch with, and my phone started blowing up right after noon when reports came out that this could be the end for Napier as soon as this weekend. What's the latest that you're hearing just about that, Graham?
It's an interesting scenario because I think the boosters have a ton of power like they do at every collegiate program. And for the second straight year, they are in an impasse in a sense where they have lost faith in the leadership of the program and whether the funds that they are donating and the support they're giving the program, whether it's going to lead to the on-field results that this program, the high expectations that they have, whether they feel they deserve. And when the money runs out, when the cash stops flowing, it's kind of a breaking point, right? So whether, the reports of they're out there about there being multiple boosters and this meeting on Tuesday, which I have heard of, and I ran my column, which I had worked on or I'd set up nearly a year ago, to be quite honest. Whether that, the details of that remain, I think, a little bit unclear here. There's some conflicting narratives, I guess I'll say. Regardless, Billy Napier feels like he is on borrowed time. I wrote about this after the USF loss, that was such a critical game for Florida, given how difficult the rest of the schedule was. If they were going to achieve their goals in 2025, they couldn't let an opportunity like that pass them by, given that they had to play at LSU, at Miami, Texas A&M on the road, a Texas A&M team which looks really, really good, one of the SEC's best. And then obviously at the end of the year, you're facing Georgia, a much improved Florida State team, Ole Miss on the road, Tennessee. I mean, the opportunities were few and far between. And so it's difficult, if not, let's be quite honest, impossible to see Florida making the college football playoff. They'd have to run the table, and even then there's no guarantee. And so in year 4 here for Billy Napier, how much longer is he going to last? Whether win or lose on Saturday against Mississippi State, there are people calling for him behind the scenes to no longer be the head coach, which it wouldn't be the first time, of course, that a Florida coach after a win is parted ways with. We saw it with Ron Zook. We've seen it before at other programs, certainly. And heading into the second bye week makes the most sense for an interim to kind of motivate the team and get the fan base a little bit excited for the final 5 games of the schedule. We'll see if it does happen. Florida is continuing to send the message that it's business as usual right now and that they are focused on the upcoming contest, but they can't ignore the noise that is near deafening surrounding the program right now.
Graham, we've noted, and I'm sure you have as well, that for a long time now, the Gators have been without a university president. So basically, the boosters just have a direct line to Strickland. We're curious. Usually, ADs don't get to make a third hire at football when the first 2 didn't work out. I mean, we could define Mullen's tenure however we want, but the bottom line is he hired him, fired him, hired Billy. He's going to fire Billy. Are we sure Scott, despite the basketball national title 8 months ago, are we sure Scott is going to get a chance to hire the next coach?
We're certain that he's going to be the athletic director there. Now, how much influence on the decision is he going to have? I think that remains anyone's guess. I mean, search firms are so prolific right now in college athletics that it would almost be, I hate to say malpractice because that does feel like a strong word, but it would be inadvisable, in my, I guess you could say, unqualified opinion, to be an athletic director or make these decisions. But it wouldn't make a ton of sense to not use a search firm, given what you just said. The previous 2 hires not working out in Gainesville, the benefit of a search firm, kind of how that can take some pressure off of an athletic director. I could understand if you're an athletic director wanting to receive the credit for making a hire, and you should get them even if you were just listening to a search firm. But you absolutely should have an outside committee involved in the decision. But let's be quite honest here. This is not something that Florida is being blindsided by. You brought up Dan Mullen. That was such an interesting situation because Jim McElwain, everything kind of came apart so quickly for him, right? He had impressive 2 seasons here at Florida, but then you have the controversies, right? That kind of came up a little bit out of nowhere. You had the credit card fraud scandal, and then you had the death threats comments. Scott Strickland had to make a rather quick decision here. The administration was blindsided, and he had already worked with Dan Mullen at Mississippi State. He had vetted him. And so that led him to Dan Mullen to make that hiring when everything came apart within less than 3 months, 2 months. And for Dan Mullen, he kind of, you could say gave up, stopped recruiting, whatever it was. But he had looked a little bit burnt out at Florida, and Billy Napier was the hot name at the time. And Scott Strickland felt like they would have to be moving quickly to land Billy Napier. All that said, this is not that situation here. They've gone back to last year. Even you could make a case that at the end of 2023, when Florida had won 13 games in 2 seasons, they understood that they should get their ducks in a row, that this was a possibility, if not a likelihood, last year at this time when Florida started 1-2 and the boosters were calling and Scott Strickland got them to use that buyout money to reload the roster and get players to return and use it on highly touted freshmen. They've had more than a year is what I'm saying to make the ideal hire. If he is not going to make a home run hire as the athletic director for a college football coach right now, is it ever going to happen? So there are no excuses here. The pressure is high. This is a situation where they should absolutely know who their list of candidates are. And frankly, I think that they more than likely have a few that haven't been publicly discussed too much. The names of Lane Kiffin and Marcus Freeman make a ton of sense, but they also feel a little bit too obvious in a sense here. So I'm intrigued to see what they do, but there's no excuses here. They should absolutely have done their due diligence, and I'm pretty certain that they have, and I'm intrigued to see what direction they go.
We've got about a minute left, Graham, but you mentioned those 2 guys. I don't think Lane would leave, but he might. I don't think Freeman would leave, but he might. Would they go after Cignetti? And just how many yeses do you think they get out of the Freeman, Kiffin, Cignetti camp, if you will?
I think they would get a good bit. I think Cignetti is a very safe hire. There's people out there who are talking about his age. Come on, you're not hiring someone for the next decade of their life. You need a football coach who is going to lead you to the mountaintop and do it within 5 years. Cignetti is energized. He is intelligent. He's from the Saban coaching tree, makes a ton of sense. Would he be willing to leave Indiana? That is a desirable job right now. And he may not want to risk coming back to the South here. I don't know what's going to happen. Marcus Freeman also feels like a little bit of a long shot in a sense to me. A guy from the Midwest area, Ohio State grad, has recruited mainly around that area. Yeah, he's targeted players from the Orlando area like Vernell Brown III. But is he willing to take the reputation risk and come to Florida? I don't know. I think he's going to wind up in the NFL sooner than later. Those 2 seem like long shots in a sense to me. And they also have a fair bit of questions about whether they're going to be someone who gets Florida back to the contender status that this program so desperately desires to be at.
Graham Hall, 24/7 Sports, 247sports.com. Follow him on X at Graham Hall. Graham, thanks for working around our phone issues, and we appreciate it. Hopefully we'll talk soon.
Pleasure's all mine, guys. David, Mark, hope you guys take care. Yeah, we definitely got to talk soon. It's going to be an interesting time in Gainesville.
Yeah, just keep your phone near you on Sunday. Graham Hall, 24/7 Sports. The expected firing of Billy Napier in roughly 72 hours. We'll see if it comes to fruition as Florida heads into the bye week before the cocktail party.
It is our poll question today. If you could pick the next Gators coach out of this list, who would you choose? Kiffin, Cignetti, Golish, Gruden. Those are your choices. Right now, you're on the Lane train. Over 52% of you voting for the Ole Miss coach. Miller and Moulton. When we come back, the bonus hour. And we begin that every Thursday with JP Shadrick. He's in London, and he'll join us next. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com.
This year during Thanksgiving week, Fort Myers takes the national stage, hosting not one but two elite women's college basketball tournaments, the Fort Myers Tip-Off and Coconut Hoops, both featuring Power 4 teams and nationally ranked programs. Few places in the country can showcase this level of talent. We're proud that Fort Myers is one of them. Don't miss your chance for tickets. Go to visitfortmyers.com/basketball. Lee County, building a better community through business, sports, and tourism.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to nolanagency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or nolanagency.com.
Got a cracked window or foggy glass? Don't wait for the next storm to make it worse. Your local Glass Doctor Home and Business is just down the road and ready to help. From leaky frames to shattered panes, we've got the tools and the know-how to get your home or business storm ready. With flexible scheduling and our done right promise, you'll be in good hands. So before or after the weather hits, call your neighbors at Glass Doctor.
Glass Doctor, Glass Doctor. Call the Glass Doctor, we fix your pains. Oh yeah!
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512. American Paint Supplies. For nearly 30 years is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Let's talk the big differences between Floor Meisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floor Meisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floor Meisters backs their installer, so if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floor Meisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floor Meisters in Naples. FloorMeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floor Meisters, just keeping it real.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Morning, JP.
Hey.
A little cool there in London. I see the toque, as they call them up north.
Yeah, it's 58 degrees currently.
58 degrees, and you're in a parka and a ski hat.
Well, yeah.
Man, are you a Florida kid?
Well, I got a bald head too there, Mark. I mean, I gotta be careful here.
I got you.
No, it's
green around here, hats there. I get it.
At least it's not misting right now. I mean, this glowing orb just came out of the sky earlier. We're like, oh, that's the sun. Amazing. You can actually see the sun today for 5 minutes. It's been cloudy and misting rain for 3 days. So
I've only been across the pond once. I spent 6 weeks there when I was in college. I took classes in London. And it was like apparently the best summer they had in 40 years. You know, we had all these warm clothes because we knew what and we're in shorts and T-shirts the entire. I mean, it was perfect. It was amazing.
Yeah, summer here is pretty good. I think I've been to 12 of the 13 Jaguar games here. There was one we just didn't cover. And so I've been here all that. And I come a bunch in the summertime for different things. So I love it over here. It's awesome.
That's fantastic.
This resort is awesome too, by the way.
That's right. You're like north of the city at that
baby.
resort that you said is just. I remember you saying it last year. This is like a 5-star resort.
Yeah, it's northwest of London, outside of a town called Watford, and it's like a 15-minute nonstop train. It's easy, but it's like you're out here. And I mean, the original manor house was built in 1780, and they built all these new things on it. There's the golf course had a World Golf Championship event one year. The G20 summits are here. I mean, it's that kind of place.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, it's nice. And this is the garden behind me, and that's the 18th fairway behind that square tree right there.
Is this the place you were at last year?
Yeah. This is usually Jags' home base if they can get it, if they're the home team. Yeah.
Okay.
That's awesome.
No sense to really. Now, do you do anything while you're there this week, or do you pretty much stay on campus, if you will?
Yeah, I've been in town. I mean, I've got we had an event last night downtown. I went down with Loggeman for a sponsor event, and then tonight I've got a show here, and then I go immediately downtown to host Jaguars trivia at the Jaguars bar down at Victoria, right by the Palace. So it'll be packed tonight, and then tomorrow is pretty light. I'll have dinner, and then Saturday I got to move hotels, interview the owner. And then I've got another pub party to host from 4 to 7. So it's a busy schedule.
Move hotels?
Well, I moved closer to Wimbledon because I'm not flying back with the team after the game.
Gotcha.
So I'd rather not come back here after the game since the way out here.
Right.
So I'm staying right by Wembley for Saturday night and Sunday night. So, yeah, easier that way. What's up with you guys? What's new back home? Oh, they're firing the Gators coach already?
Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe on Sunday.
Yeah.
I saw that
Rumor came out yesterday that he's gonzo no matter what happens.
I logged in early and I heard you guys talking about it. I'm like, what? They haven't even played a game.
No.
And some quick Jax news. Adventures Landing finally closed
Oh, wow.
on
I never went out
Jacksonville
there.
Beach.
I never went out there.
So just some news from back
Okay.
in the 904.
What's going to happen there? I wonder.
I think condos. Because
What
you know
else? What else?
what this area needs, particularly on the beach, is more condos.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. Now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And the bonus hour on a Thursday always begins with JP Shadrick, but not always from another continent. And he joins us live from, are you technically in London or are you just outside?
No, we're outside. We're outside of a little town called Watford. It's west of London. There is an express train. If you catch it right, it takes about 15 minutes from Watford to get down at the Euston Station in London. But we're out in the countryside, rolling farm country, and pheasants walking around, and goats and sheep, and all kind of English people. I mean, it is. We're
Just
out
like-
here, man.
Just like Jacksonville, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I think last year I spoke to you from Fulham Football Club because we were doing some event that day, and it works out. So the Jags are on the practice field here at the grounds, other way, opposite the camera. But they're out there now getting practice, and there's actually a field out here that's striped off and flat and everything. So they're wearing pads today and getting ready, and they've got meetings and everything in the hotel.
All right. They had a tough game. That was a tough go against Seattle last week. That's a good football team. They're very good up front, and they created havoc. Liam Cohn took it upon himself again. How close, in your estimation, is this offense? Because he's taken blame for some things. Trevor's taken blame for some things. But just how, after seeing Seattle, how much needs to be fixed offensively, JP?
Well, they've got to figure out how to run when teams are going to load up against the run, because early in the season they were doing that. They could run the ball, and it sets up everything else for Liam in this offense and Trevor. But now teams are selling out to stop ETN and making 16 beat him. And so far, he has not shown the consistency down the field to be able to make those throws on a down-by-down basis. So, all right, that's got to happen. And then, of course, last week the offensive line just kind of blew up. They got 7 sacks against him, and he didn't have time a lot. And even when he got rid of it, the efficiency wasn't too bad from Trevor. So that's and they got to get out of their own way sometimes too. Delay of games are still there. All these pre-snap issues. That's the thing I think that concerns Liam Cohen the most, is that they can't do anything if they can't get to the line and start a play. So that's where they are right now, and that's the number one priority. Let's just handle our business. It doesn't matter who we're lining up against.
What concerns me the most is the pressure rate on Trevor is going up consistently, from game 1, not just to game 1 to game 6, but even if you blunk it, games 1 and 2 versus 3 and 4 versus 5 and 6. And so is that the offensive line, once again, is just not good enough? Is it an injury or two, but somebody's going to fill back in here soon? That would concern me the most. We're getting the rest of the offense. Trevor's getting better. Receivers are getting better. Their drops are down. The offensive line play is getting worse.
Well, they don't have Brenton Strange for another 2 weeks, the tight end. That's a big one, and he's a big piece of what they do in the pass protection game. When he's not running routes and things, like he's a big part of that. So that's a loss. And they've got some veteran players that can step in there and try to fill that role, but they're not Brenton Strange, who's playing really well right now. And they've had little nicks on the offensive line on the right side, like Harrison and McCary came out, and then Mack in a couple weeks ago, and then he played last week, and then the center was out last week. Hainsey looks like he's trending the right way. He was out on the practice field jumping around earlier with a hamstring issue, so that seems like a good sign. So, if those guys are back, it wasn't Monheim's issue, the center. He was pretty good last week, the guy that filled in. So I think just a little more focus up front, line up on side, right? Start with that right tackle. He was starting to try to get a little early jump because of the pass rush was going. So I think it's what it is. I don't think help's on the way. I don't think they're going to go trade for an offensive lineman. Though they could. It's a possibility if it's going that bad. But I think they can fix it from within, I think, is what they think.
And I think, and Liam's taking the blame, but some of those pre-snap things are on getting the plays in on time, just some of the little things. And he's talked just about the offensive efficiency on a whole being better. If that happens, I think some of these problems will be solved. The positive was still the defense, JP. Seattle held to 20 points. That's usually good enough for a win most weeks. They were great getting them off the field on third down. Even without creating a bunch of turnovers, the defense was still rock solid.
They were, and they got off the field when they needed to late in the game, and when they absolutely had to have stops to get the ball back to the offense. You know what? They gave up some big plays earlier in the game, right? The 61-yarder over Newsome. Like, okay, that happens. Just keep playing. And that's been the whole motto this year. So what? Like, just keep on playing defense. They didn't get the takeaways. They're going to miss Lloyd. That's a big loss because he's playing out of his mind right now. So they missed him last week when he was on the sideline. They weren't really sure why. They didn't put an injury report out mid-game. It's like, wait a minute. Then he comes out with a calf issue. He didn't even make the trip here to London. So that's a loss this week against a really good offense in L.A. But they didn't get the takeaways last week, but they got the ball back in key moments, getting off the field when they needed to. Trayvon Walker's not the same. He's got a club on his left hand. That's just not, I could see if they win this game, I could see them really going to shop for something on the defensive line in a trade market somewhere to add to what they can do up front. Because that's the one thing I think that's really missing right now.
Well, the Hendrickson rumors were out there when the Jags kind of moved some money around. They created enough money where, if the Bengals are selling and Hendrickson would be a rental, that the Jags would be one of the teams in position to get him financially. And also it is an area of need. JP Shadrick joining us from just outside London. The Jags, listen, we know the organization's view about London. Obviously, they're all in. It's very valuable to them financially and otherwise. The players on the Jags, they obviously know, hey, if you go play for the Jags, we're playing at least one game a year there. Sometimes the NFL makes us play two. Okay, has the players' attitudes changed about their annual trip to London?
I mean, it seems so. I mean, I don't see anybody like protesting and staying home, and
but you know
skipping a
what I
paycheck.
mean. But you're around the guys, when they were grumbling 8-10 years ago versus now.
But sure, but it's part of the deal now. It's going to be what it is, and you know what? The way it's trending, every team in the league is going to play one. If they have 16 international games a year, if they go to 18 games, every team's going to play an international game. So get used to it. It's not going anywhere. It's only trending the other way. So if you're not into it, you're not going to be into the NFL too much. So it's growing globally. It's just what the commissioner wants and what the league owners want and what they've approved. So roll with it, baby, as Steve Winwood said.
And I think you may look back on this in 5 years when they are playing 18 games in Jacksonville, maybe saying, pretty nice that we grabbed London a long time ago. There could be a lot further destinations that teams are going to have to travel to, and we've got our spot. All right.
And I'm curious, too, real quick on that. Like, I'm talking to Shad Khan on Saturday, Jags owner, and getting his take on the future here because the Jags deal is separate from the NFL. NFL has the deal with Tottenham Hotspur. The Jaguars have their own deal with Wembley. How long is that? What does that have to do in the coming years with the stadium construction, too? That's all a storyline this week.
All right, the Rams. Puka got hurt. Don't know what he'll be like this week. They don't score. I mean, this is almost a mirror image of Seattle. They're really good defensively. They don't give up a ton of points. But everybody's scoring 30 on Baltimore. They only got to 17. So I see an opportunity here, but this looks like it's going to be another slugfest, JP.
Yeah, I mean, if Puka doesn't go, I mean, their numbers with and without Puka Nacua are pretty striking statistically. I mean, he's 2-3 without Puka and 13-6 with him. So do the math on that. He's the guy that really starts everything, emotions, and it sets up everything else in their offense. So who's going to fill that role for them is the big question. They do have Devontae Adams, who has been a real pain in the rear for the Jaguars in his career. 4 games, 6 touchdowns, including 198 yards last year with the Jets, his second best day in his career. So he's still out there. He's a problem, or has been for this team at least. We'll see what they do. I think Tutu Atwell is trending the right way to get back too. So, and then the running back is a dual threat. They use him out of the backfield and in the passing game, and then can put it on the ground too. So, and Stafford is just kind of a salty vet magician guy, So you got to be careful with a guy who's been at this for so long. And defensively, it's the pass rush last week was good. Oh boy, Byron Young, Jared Verse, strap in tackles because it's going to be one of those days. And they got big bodies in the middle that can play too. So this is an all-around tough one. I think that I don't think the Jags are going to get blown out much this year. I think they're going to be in pretty much every game, including this one. The matching of wits is going to be interesting with Sean McVay and, of course, his former assistant, Liam Cohen, on the other side. So Liam was there as like he drew plays for him, basically, kind of worked his way. It was one of his first big gigs in the NFL, worked his way. It was an OC there for a year. So there's a lot of connections here. The GM was there, of course, until last season. So you just got to put all that past you and go play. But the matchup and the matching of minds here offensively is a really interesting storyline.
All right, roughly 60 seconds. Just let people know the schedule of events that you and the Jags, before you call the game for Westwood One on Sunday. Congratulations on the gig.
Thanks.
So just let people know what life will be like for the next 48 hours.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm with Torrey Holt on Sunday at Wembley, who's coming in to do the color for me on Westwood One. So looking forward to that. Now, we had sponsor events throughout the week, pretty much every night. I had one last night with Jeff Loggeman, one of our sponsors here in the UK, had a group of about 100 people just talking football, which was awesome. Tonight, there's a pub party at the Jaguars-themed pub down at Victoria, and it's trivia night. And guess who gets to host trivia night? Yours truly. Friday's practice day, normal light day, nothing really there is a big party in the evening. I'm not going to that one. Saturday, there's a Fulham game. Shad Khan speaks with the media midday. And then in the evening, another pub party. That's with Fred Taylor and Maurice Jones-Drew. And then, there's also a game on Sunday. Yeah, that.
All right. Hopefully you can have a pint during trivia night yourself.
Oh, that's in the contract. Okay.
Good negotiating. And hopefully, have you had a chance? I know you're a huge music guy. Have you been anywhere to see some live music in London?
Not live music, but we were driving back last night. Our driver in our car service, we're looking at the map, just seeing where we are. We're a block from Abbey Road. Pull over. He pulls. Awesome. It's like 10:30 at night. There's nobody out there. We hop out of the car real quick, get the picture of us walking across the crosswalk, hop back in, and we're on our way. So by default, we've done a little music sightseeing.
JP Shadrick, he is calling the game for Westwood 1, Jaguars and Rams, Sunday from London. Safe travels.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing, and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000, depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com. Capecops.com. Be brave, be best, be Cape.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Let's talk the big differences between Floor Meisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floor Meisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floor Meisters backs their installer. So if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floor Meisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floor Meisters in Naples. FloorMeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floor Meisters, just keeping it real.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Left Twix, I was only in Europe once, but when I went, the beer was cold. Mark went to England 35 years ago. I don't think he's been back. I went 13 years ago, haven't been back.
Aurora, if you are still in the chat room there, David agrees with you on Signetti. I agree with you on Lane. And yes, JP looked like he needed a whiskey. No, it is not, Left Twix. Ciders are drank warm. Beer is cold. I was scared to death when I went over for that. And trust me, I stayed in a dorm at a college, and there was a pub in the dorm. Things are a little different over there. And they had Carlsberg on draft. That's what we drank the most of while I was there. In fact, Carlsberg was pretty popular. It's not an English beer either. That was very popular in and around the pubs of London, at least the ones that I frequented. Kenneth, what's your choice of drink then? And thanks for listening. I know you, like I said, I know you jump on with Kerwin, that you've been jumping on more. We appreciate it. Love to have someone listening across the pond. That's fantastic. I know you're an NFL guy, so we give you a lot of college. That's probably not your thing, but it is ours.
I hear you.
Hoping I have time for a nap today, David. I don't see it. I just don't see it. Too much going on today. Very disappointing.
Yeah, not me.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when. Some final thoughts, a pick or two. All coming up in a little more than 15 minutes' time. We are Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for joining us, whether it's in Jacksonville, Tampa, St. Pete, or in Southwest Florida, or if you're doing so via Twitch, YouTube, or the internet somewhere else. We are very appreciative. MillerandMoulton.com. Okay, the Miller and Moulton Twitch.tv channel and the Miller and Moulton YouTube channel.
It was worth joining us on YouTube or Twitch just for that JP segment, because the Florida kid there in 58-degree weather looked to be wearing damn near a full parka and had a winter cap on.
He put the
JP said, I'm bald, so I got a little more to protect up here. So I get it. But the full-on Jags winter cap.
So he connected via the internet, I think using his phone, and he propped the phone up and he stood in front of the shot. And he was standing there for a couple of minutes before we got to him during the break. And then he put without the hat on. So then he put the winter hat on. And like you said, Mark, he didn't have the heaviest winter coat, but he had the next level down winter coat. So there he is, mid-50s. Gray conditions around him, and he is dressed for 28 degrees.
No doubt. I mean, come on, David, you travel. You go to cold places a lot during football season. You wear shorts sometimes.
Yes. No, he looks like a young man who was born and raised in Alabama and has spent a good chunk of his professional career in the South.
No doubt. Yes. No doubt. And yes. I probably at this point in my life wouldn't be far behind him, because I am a sissy when it comes to the cold. I am not taking a shot at JP. I am merely giving the visual for those that are listening on the radio, and it was quite a shot. I mean, it really was. He went and worked to get us a good shot for that segment. And we thank him for it.
Nice.
JP is always great with that type of stuff.
Nice background. It almost looked like a castle behind him, and you could tell that there was a lot of land. And as he said, there's a golf course that they're on the grounds of. So yeah, you could tell he was at a nice place, as you would expect him to be, since it's on the Jags' dime.
Got that right. You got that right. So tonight, 2 baseball games, 1 football game. And I know we always kind of do the last segment to pick, but we generally run out of time to really get into the games because there's other things we do. You're already taking the Brewers, just given the fact that the road teams are now 5-0.
Yeah. Now, I do think a home team will win tonight, and I should pick the Dodgers because they have the pitching matchup. And most of us think, even though the Brewers went 6-0 against them in the regular season, but when they played the Dodgers had none of their regular starting pitching. And the Brewers won 3 more games in the regular season than the Dodgers. But most of us think, come on, Dodgers, Brewers, who's better? Dodgers. I kind of like the Brewers to do tonight, not to the tune of 13 runs, but I kind of like them to do tonight what the Jays did last night, where the Jays bats came alive a couple innings into game 3. The Brewers bats have been quiet, Mark, for a while. Remember, they scored 3 runs combined in the 2 games at Wrigley. Then when they won game 5, wasn't it like 4-1? It was like 1 big 3-run homer and not much else. And now in the first 2 games at home, they've scored what? 2 runs?
1 run.
1 run.
One run in the 9th inning against the relief pitching of the Dodgers in game 1, and they were shut out in 2 runs, 1 in each game. Sorry, because they gave up the home run.
So
Yamamoto gave up the home run in game 2. So 2 runs in 2 games. And by the way, Glasnow, who's starting in his other playoff appearance, went 7 2/3 and didn't allow a run.
Now, the guy who's got to come through for the Brewers is Yelich. Yelich in the playoffs sitting like a $113. Obviously, against the righty Glasnow. He's got to come through tonight. They don't have many big bats. He's one of them. He has to come through tonight.
No doubt. The other thing that I heard manager Pat Murphy talk about, David, and I think it's an incredibly valid point. Well, it should be. It's coming from the manager. They were like the best team in baseball as far as not swinging at pitches outside the strike zone. And they chased in the first 2 games. And they've got to be a little better. They have to have a little better discipline at the plate. This isn't the most exciting way to watch baseball, but they've got to take more pitches. They've got to try to work counts, not swing at bad pitches. And part of that is when you have good starting pitching that does what? First pitch strikes mean a whole hell of a lot. And the Dodgers have been able to do that. So they've controlled the at-bats, not the Brewers.
And the Mariners got a lot of credit in the game 5 win against Detroit, that even though Skubal only gave up 1 run in 6 innings, all right, they made him throw nearly 100 pitches. He had to throw 16 plus pitches an inning. And you're right. You take a look at Yamamoto and Snell. They've been mowing down the Brewers on 12 pitches an inning. Okay, obviously 4 pitches an inning added up, and over 5-6 innings, yeah, you've got the guy out of there. That's an inning plus maybe 2 innings of extra pitches. So I'll say this, and I'm not this huge baseball expert, but Snell and Yamamoto's pitches move more than Glasnow. Glasnow's curveball moves, but I think he lives off his fastball more than the other 2. We'll see tonight whether the Brewers can be a little more disciplined. But listen, their big bats have to come through, and they haven't for 5 games now.
And Seattle with an opportunity to tie the series in the American League Series. Max Scherzer on the mound. He was not on the roster for their first round against the Yankees. They left him off the roster against the Yankees. I just wonder, with all this time, when's the last time Scherzer's pitched? This is
final week of the regular season.
Right.
Yeah. Now he's thrown simulated games to stay sharp, but yes, remember in the deciding game 4 against the Yankees, the Jays went with the bullpen game. They had a choice between two veteran starters and left both off the roster. So it was a conscious decision against the Yankees. But against Seattle, they obviously put Scherzer on the roster and intended him to pitch game 4. This will be his only start in the series. He's not coming back on short rest in a game 7. So, if he's pitching well, you might as well let him empty the proverbial tank, if you will, because if the Jays were to get by this series and get to the World Series, he wouldn't pitch to game 3 or 4 of that either. So Scherzer ain't pitching again for at least 10 days, if he's pitching again at all.
And this wasn't the same Max Scherzer that you remember this year in Toronto. He battled injuries. I think he was 5-5. His earned run average was over 5. So pitching edge tonight actually goes with Seattle, not with Scherzer. And that's something you just wouldn't normally think.
Brewers, Dodgers at 6 Eastern on TBS. Jays, Mariners, 8:30 Eastern on FS1.
If we're going to bury a series, we're going to bury the Jays and the Mariners. We're FS1.
Unbelievable. I'm surprised. I know it's, fall lineup, and this week and last week were kind of like the beginning of the networks debuting their fall lineups. But I mean, I got to believe, I know it's Toronto and Seattle, but I mean, does anybody know a single show that Fox is airing besides the sitcoms on Sunday night? I mean, anybody? I'm surprised for the amount of money that they pay, which is like $800 million a year to do Major League Baseball. I'm a little surprised the ALCS is on FS1, or is it simply because the Jays beat the Yankees? If it was the Yankees, would these games be on Fox?
Here to me is the kicker on that one. Tomorrow night, Fox is airing a college football game. Fox is airing a college football game. Louisville and Miami play, but they don't have contractual rights to that game. Nebraska and Minnesota is on Big Fox, and they've kicked the ALCS to the curb, essentially, with FS1.
So Timmy B gets Big Fox and Joe Davis gets FS1?
That appears to be the case. Miller and Moulton. Today was the day when the good, the bad, and the ugly, and a few picks when we come back. Thanks for listening. Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at PelicanRoofingCompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Let's talk the big differences between Floor Meisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floor Meisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floor Meisters backs their installer. So if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floor Meisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floor Meisters in Naples. FloorMeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floor Meisters, just keeping it real.
Got a cracked window or foggy glass? Don't wait for the next storm to make it worse. Your local Glass Doctor Home and Business is just down the road and ready to help. From leaky frames to shattered panes, we've got the tools and the know-how to get your home or business storm ready. With flexible scheduling and our done right promise, you'll be in good hands. So before or after the weather hits, call your neighbors at Glass Doctor.
Glass Doctor, Glass Doctor. Call the Glass Doctor. We fix your pains. Oh, yeah.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Yeah, I think that's the network that it's on. I think you're right. I actually think it looks like it could be funny. Have you watched it, Left Twix? Because I haven't. Yeah, don't be too disappointed with the Boilermakers in football because basketball season's right around the corner.
And listen, compared to last year, Purdue looks staggeringly better.
I spend a lot of Saturdays with two Purdue grads. Their daughter plays soccer with my daughter. Known him for a long time. He's so happy with where the football team is right now. Honest to God. And he's like, hey, mate, they lost Minnesota. He's like, hey, we might win against Minnesota today. And he wasn't thinking that a year ago. They were losing every damn game.
Right. Their only win last year, what was it, like Indiana State, and they lost all the FBS schools they played. They went 1-11. Yeah. It's why Joe Tiller was amazing.
Yes. Oh, goodness. I'm really disappointed in this lack of nap today, David.
I know. Some days you just need one.
I know. I will say the 7 o'clock soccer practice works to my benefit because I might be able to get pick up Maddie and say, do your homework while Daddy takes a nap. Usually I get today was the day when done while she's doing homework. We sit down at the table. She does her homework. I do my homework. Got some guy on the text line, basically giving me gold prices and showing off that he bought gold bars a year ago. It's like, unless you need my address to send me one of those, I'm not sure why you're telling me.
I mean, congratulations, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I
Thanks
said.
for listening.
You, but unless you need my address, I don't need any more bragging about your big, gold purchase.
Welcome to the bonus hour, brought to you by Jason and Todd at the Diamond District. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes until we're out of here. We're done for just the day. We're back tomorrow. Lee Sterling makes his picks. Pat Kerwin will give us his thoughts on another week in the NFL. And I'm in the process. We may have Tim Brando tomorrow.
Timmy B?
Timmy B. All right.
Let him know our segments are only so long.
I started the text by saying, here's the time, 12 minutes. Okay.
Over under questions, 1.5.
No, 3.5.
I'll go
3.5.
I'll go under. And we don't count how are you doing as a question.
Okay, 2.5. Very
maybe.
Close.
Maybe.
Close.
And we love Timmy B.
Love him.
Timmy B gives long answers.
In our old
and sometimes he doesn't even answer the question we ask.
No.
He's answered 3 or 4 that he has first.
And it's good material. Wasn't necessarily what we asked. It's very good material, though. Yes. In our old format, we were in the afternoons, and my God, that was a decade ago when we were in the afternoons. We didn't have a time limit. The interview was going well. Smoke them if you got them. We'll make it up somehow, some way in the 4-hour show.
Yeah.
Okay.
We blew through a top of the hour and I think 3 breaks with Chris Berman once. Chris was on a roll. He was in a good mood.
Yep.
And we talked to him for 45 minutes commercial free.
And we looked at one another and said, we are not going to break. Because if somebody started listening to this, they are not turning it off.
Hopefully you don't turn off this.
It's that time again, nearing the end, but not quite there yet. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
I'm telling you, I got someone texting me on the text line about their gold purchases. and then I said, I literally said, I'm guessing you needed my address to send me some of this. And he responded with, I got a new phone and lost David's contact information.
Did you say congratulations, thanks for listening?
Not yet.
Okay.
All right. What the hell are we doing here? All right.
Good and Ugly, brought to you by Gold.
Well, no, that's brought to you by CapeCops.com. This could be brought to you by a Gold Bar if you want to send me one. 1793, 9 months after her husband was executed, Marie Antoinette went to the guillotine today in 1793. Brigham Young University is founded today in 1875. The Disney Brothers Cartoon Studio, founded today by Walt and Roy Disney in 1923, the beginning, of course, of what would become the Walt Disney Company. It was today in 1958 that it all began for the El Camino. Inspired by the first car truck, the Ford Ranchero, the El Camino, the sedan pickup. Quite a vehicle. Today in 1962, the Cuban Missile Crisis begins as JFK has shown photos confirming presence of Soviet missiles in Cuba. 1968, Tommy Smith and John Carlos gave the Black Power salute on the podium after winning gold and bronze in the 200 at the Mexico City Olympics.
And if you think people reacted negatively to Kaepernick, oh!
Today in 1972, CCR calls it quits. They would never, ever reform. We all know John Fogerty had a pretty successful solo career following. The Way We Were with Streisand and Redford premiered today in 1973. 2 things in 1976. 1, Maple Leaf Lenny McDonald scored a hat trick in 2 minutes and 54 seconds. That's impressive.
Yes, it is.
This not so impressive, but needs to be stated. It was today in 1976 that DJ Rick Dees hit #1 in the United States with the song Disco Duck. David, in 1976, what were we doing a lot of?
Cocaine, Mark. Cocaine.
Pope John Paul II is elected today in 1978, the Cardinal from Poland, becoming the Pope. 1983, Orioles beat the Phillies in 5 for the World Series, and the U.S. wins the Ryder Cup by a point. Bernard Gallagher missed a 3-footer for bogey, which gave Watson a 2-1 win and the winning point. Roy Tarpley today in 91 became the 7th player to be banned from the NBA for life under the league's anti-drug agreement. Could you imagine if that was still in place now? And today in 2004, Messi made his debut for FC Barcelona at 17 years of age. Oscar Wilde, Angela Lansbury, Dave DeBuscher, Tim McCarver, Suzanne Summers, Chris Dolman, and Minute Bull would have all celebrated birthdays today. Bob Weir from the Grateful Dead is 78 and still playing 3-hour concerts at the Sphere. Tim Robbins is 67. Flea from the Chili Peppers is 63. One of my favorite all-time hockey names, David. Darius Kasparaitis, Fear of Friendly Ghost. He's 53 today. Paul Correa is 51. John Mayer, who plays with Bob Weir and Dead and Company, is 47. Sue Bird is 45. Bryce Harper, 33. And Naomi Osaka is 28 years old today. What did I miss, David?
Did you talk about Walt Disney?
I did.
Yeah, I thought you did. Baby Jessica, remember her?
No.
She was the infant who fell in the drain in Texas.
Oh, okay.
From the well, I guess it was. All right. To me, Mark, it was like the first thing that a lot of people watched CNN for. Because it was today in 87. And CNN had been around, I think, 7 years. I think ESPN's 79, CNN's 80, and MTV's 81 as to when they debuted. And to me, it was like one of the first big things that people watched. That Tiananmen Square in 87. And then, of course, 4 years later, we went to war. We were watching it on TV, and it was like, I'll be damned.
Wolf Blitzer watching a war live on television.
Right. Bernard Shaw.
I was freaking out.
Right. It's like, we're really watching a war live? This is something. But baby Jessica, rescued from that Texas well, trapped 58 hours in Midland, Texas, rescued today in 87.
Time to see life a little bit differently. Here's Mark Miller with the good, the bad, and the ugly. What do you got, Mark?
If I could just throw in, this was well before GoFundMe. So many people from around the world were captivated by this story. So much money was sent in to the family because they didn't know how it was going to turn out for 2.5 days. Anyway, they put $800,000 in a trust fund, and she got it when she graduated high school.
And that is the rest of the story. More than you ever knew about baby Jessica and probably ever wanted to.
Oh, boy.
For the good today, we go to Vatican City. I like the last Pope. Pope Francis, and I'm a Catholic, okay? I think by now if you listen, you know that. But Pope Francis seemed like an all right guy. Pope Leo? Oh, yeah. He was doing a parade yesterday in Vatican City when the fans were lined in the streets as he was standing on the Pope mobile and waving. And you can clearly hear one of the fans of the Pope yell, "Go Cubs." Well, the Pope's a White Sox fan.
Yes, he is.
Not only did he recognize the Cubs fan, he told him in English and Spanish, they lost.
There you go.
They lost.
Yep.
Twice. Spanish, then English.
Right.
Just to make sure there was no room for anybody to miss that. Go Pope Leo. That's awesome.
Love it. Love it. Don't they have to somehow, some way? He's going to come to the States at some point. Don't they just have to say, listen, I know this is probably not Pope-like, but you got to do the 7th inning stretch. Would he do it at Wrigley?
No, he's not a Cubs fan.
Come on!
First off, if he does, I'd be pissed.
How about interleague? They're hosting the White Sox.
He goes into Wrigley. No, what he
Okay.
needs to do is do a mass at Comiskey and throw out the first pitch at Comiskey. A Pope throwing out the first pitch? Are you kidding me? I'd bring more Catholics back than anything else he could do.
I'll tell you what, Mark. Okay, there's no computerized strike zone for that first pitch. That sucker's a strike.
Oh, yeah.
If it doesn't hit the dirt, it's a strike.
For the bad, we go to Collier County, where two 17-year-olds are leading a life of crime. They were arrested early Tuesday morning after FHP pulled them over on I-75 doing 85 miles per hour at 3 a.m. During the stop, officers noticed several brightly colored boxes turned out to contain hundreds of THC vapes. Both teens were booked in the Lee County Jail. And finally, the ugly. We go to Naples, where a 44-year-old Minnesota man is super creepy and he was arrested. Douglas Peterson approached a woman who was lying on the beach and began hovering over her. He then touched her several times and refused to leave until she agreed to meet him the following day. The woman gave her a false name and phone number, and then surveillance footage showed the man being picked up by his wife with 2 children in the car. So left the wife and kids to go stalk a woman on the beach. When he returned to the beach at the same time the next day, expecting to meet the woman, police officers were waiting for him. He was arrested without incident. And that is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, October the 16th, brought to you by the Cape Coral Police Department. Cape Coral Police Department hiring new officers, great signing bonuses, great pay, great benefits. For all of this, where do they go, David?
CapeCops.com. CapeCops.com.
Bengals and Steelers, Amazon Prime.
8:15 tonight. Pittsburgh, a 4.5-point favorite. It's not just the season for the Bengals. It's the Zach Taylor regime and whether or not they're selling off parts. I'm going to take the Bengals straight up.
Yeah, everything says that you should. Tomlin has never won a road division game on a Thursday night. 0-6. The team, 0-8. Tomlin all-time on the road on Thursdays, 1-7. They make it 2-7 tonight. I would not lay the 4.5. I think it's a field goal game, but I just don't see Cincinnati with Flacco scoring a whole hell of a lot because, well, the Pittsburgh defense has kind of found itself. They've been pressuring the quarterback. They're going to have to, Flacco's going to have to stand there and find his guys. I don't know if he will. The one interesting thing is Porter for Pittsburgh is one of the grabbiest receivers out, or D-backs out there. Will the flags fly, and will there be a bunch of defensive holdings and PIs against the Steelers?
I think Flacco's knowledge of the Steelers' defensive scheme will be very valuable tonight. College football tonight, 7:30 on the 4-Letter Network. Tulsa at East Carolina. The Pirates, a 17.5-point favorite. You can get a quarter of that game in before the NFL game starts. 2 baseball games that we've talked about. NLCS, 6 o'clock, TBS, Brewers and Dodgers. ALCS, Toronto and Seattle, 8:30, FS1. 11 hockey games tonight. Panthers in New Jersey, 7 o'clock. They drop the puck.
Home opener for the Devils, right? And that was
I believe so.
And the Panthers lost last night in Detroit. Devils, pretty big favorites in this game.
So you wonder if Bob will get the start again, or with back-to-backs, will they actually turn to the backup, who I don't know if he's played this year.
It is expected that the backup Tarasov will play tonight, by what I'm reading. So there you have that. Your Rangers taking on the Leafs in Toronto, and McDavid on Long Island tonight, for those of you ESPN Plus people that Want to be able to watch the best player in the game? He's playing at 7:30. You don't get that very often. Most of his starts are a little later.
And the Rangers are interesting because they're 2-0 on the road, 0-3 at home. Haven't scored at home, have scored a bunch of goals on the road. Weird.
And Buffalo last night scored 5 times as many goals than they had all season in their 8-goal win. So there's a little pucks, a little football, and obviously we just talked last segment about the baseball games. A great night of sports tomorrow. That's a Football Friday edition of Miller and Moulton. That means Lee Sterling and Pat Kerwin. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you in the morning.
Besides the sales experience at the Diamond District, we offer a litany of other services. Appraisals.
We have 2 GIA certified gemologists, full-time, servicing your needs with appraisals.
We buy gold, diamonds, gemstones, Rolex watches.
Repairs. We have 3 full-time master bench jewelers.
A beautiful custom design department so that we can give you one-of-a-kind jewelry. Come see Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
Football season is back, and celebrate your game day with Jimmy the Beef Guy. We're talking tender, juicy Chicago beef sandwiches. Whether your party's for 10, 100, or 200, bring game day to your house with Jimmy the Beef Guy. The catering packages come with the beef, the gravy, the peppers, the bread, everything you need. 2 convenient locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. Skip the ordinary and bring the beef. Jimmy the Beef Guy, Chicago flavor, Southwest Florida style. Call today or visit jimmythebeefguy.com. Tell him Miller and Moulton sent you.
Let's talk the big differences between Floor Meisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floor Meisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floor Meisters backs their installer, so if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floor Meisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floor Meisters in Naples. Floormeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floor Meisters, just keeping it real.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
This year during Thanksgiving week, Fort Myers takes the national stage, hosting not 1 but 2 elite women's college basketball tournaments, the Fort Myers Tip-Off and Coconut Hoops, both featuring Power 4 teams and nationally ranked programs. Few places in the country can showcase this level of talent. We're proud that Fort Myers is one of them. Don't miss your chance. For tickets, go to visitfortmyers.com/basketball. Lee County, building a better community through business, sports, and tourism.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at PelicanRoofingCompany.com. CCC 13325.
This is Miller and Moulton